Chapter 173. His heart was filled with sorrow. He shook his head bitterly and sighed. This old man originally thought that my son's talent was not bad and that he had worked hard for more than 10 years. Who would have thought that he would fall in the hands of Master Kong? This is his fate. You know your stuff. Jiang Tian waved his hand lightly and walked away with his hands behind his back. The challenge from the Five-Tiger Village Zhang family was just a small interlude. He did not take it to heart at all. They were just a group of ants. If they submitted, then so be it. If they did not submit, then they would be killed by a slap. Master Kong, we will send you off. Many battle dragons surrounded Jiang Tian as he walked out of the camp. Seeing that Jiang Tian had defeated an expert, they were all elated and proud. Their backs straightened up a little. And when they truly saw Jiang Tian's terrifying killing power, their faces were filled with respect and love. Sigh, if such a talented young master were to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance gathering, I'm afraid it would cause a huge commotion. In the crowd, Feng Shiguang looked at Jiang Tian with respect. His heart was filled with longing, and he was deeply moved. Farewell, Master Kong. In the future, if I, the Five Tigers Sect Breaking Blade, meet Master Kong, I will definitely retreat to show my respect. Zhang Wendao bowed deeply and cupped his fists. He only dared to straighten up when Jiang Tian left the training ground. At this time, he realized that the clothes on his back were already drenched in cold sweat. When the Five-Tiger Village Zhang family came, they were arrogant and domineering. But when they left, they were covered in dirt and were as frightened as stray dogs. In addition, Zhang Qitian, who was on the stretcher, was screaming non-stop. It added to the mournful feeling. Regarding this, Zhang Lang could only look up to the sky and sigh. It was originally a good thing. How did it become like this? It seemed that there was a saying that was true. One's personality determined one's fate. It was true for a person, and it was also true for a family. The Zhang family had always been hot-tempered and arrogant. Perhaps after today, the Five-Tiger Village Zhang family would understand that there was always someone better than them. They would become more humble and cautious. Sigh, this was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Zhang family to befriend a grandmaster, but on the other hand, Zhang Wendao's heart was filled with dejection and regret. He shook his head bitterly and sighed. He and his son were both too arrogant and too hot-tempered. If they met Jiang Tian today, treated him with courtesy, treated him as a distinguished guest, and made friends with him, wouldn't the Zhang family have another powerful backer? Dad, are we just going to let this go? On the way, Zhang Mingli still couldn't accept it. She looked at her unconscious brother on the stretcher with tears in her eyes. The Zhang family was a martial arts family. Although they weren't the best, they still had plenty of healing elixirs. If he carefully recuperated, Zhang Qitian might be able to stand up again, but his martial arts would definitely be greatly affected. His cultivation would drop to iron body, and he might even become an ordinary person. We don't have any transcendent masters in our family. What else do you want? Don't tell me you want to throw an egg against a rock. How could Zhang Wendao not feel pained when his beloved son was seriously injured? He also hated Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian was too powerful, and he couldn't do anything about it. Dad, didn't Xiao Hao's dad reach the transcendent state? As long as he agrees to avenge my brother, I'm willing to marry Xiao Hao. Suddenly, Zhang Mingli wiped her tears and said fiercely. You mean Zhao Yuankuan? If he makes a move, it might work. At the mention of this name, Zhang Wendao felt a burst of excitement. Suddenly, his heart burned with passion, and the dejection and gloominess on his face disappeared. The reason why Jiang Tian ended the training of the war dragons so quickly was that the strength of the war dragons was already in place. On the other hand, the gathering of the Martial Arts Alliance was about to begin. After returning to Linzhou, the next day, Jiang Tian handed over some matters and said goodbye to Zhao Xueqing. He was about to set off for Hubei province to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference. However, Zhao Xueqing was reluctant to leave. She knew that this trip was dangerous. She held Jiang Tian's hand and said tearfully, "Jiang Tian, you have to take care. Dad and I can't live without you. Don't worry." Jiang Tian stretched out his finger and lightly scratched the bridge of her nose. He said gently, "In this world, no one can hurt me. You have to keep a low profile. I don't have to cultivate. But I can't live without you." Zhao Xueqing reminded Jiang Tian again and again to prepare his daily necessities before letting Jiang Tian leave. In fact, Qiu Gong and Li Junwei also wanted to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference as representatives of the Lingnan Martial Arts Alliance. However, Jiang Tian rejected them because he thought it was too troublesome. Jiang Tian left Shenmange at home and took Tang Linglong with him. Then, he set off for Zhejiang in Gan province. For Jiang Tian, he was not interested in getting to know the people in the martial arts world of Huaxia. No matter how strong their cultivation methods and cultivation were, how could they compare with his cultivation methods? However, these people often had a lot of spirit herbs and heavenly treasures, which were what Jiang Tian needed. Especially when he might be able to find out about the princess flower and improve Qing'er's body constitution. "Master, do you think there will be a transcendent master coming this time?" Tang Linglong, who was driving, asked curiously. This time, Tang Linglong pestered him again, saying that she wanted to broaden her horizons. Helpless, Jiang Tian could only bring her along. "Ghost Kick, have you attended the Martial Arts Alliance conference before?" Jiang Tian did not know. He looked at Ghost Kick beside him. "Master, the Martial Arts Alliance conference is the most important event in the martial arts world. I'm afraid there will be a transcendent master coming." Ghost Kick explained respectfully. "Rumor has it that Wei Feilong is getting old and is planning to step down as the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. The new president will be chosen through a challenge tournament. I'm afraid that Li Tuofeng from the northwest, Wu Yingxiong from the southwest, Wu Qingtian from the central plains, and Yi Wudao from Suzhou and Zhejiang are all going to participate. Wow, so many big shots. This is going to be interesting." Even so, Jiang Tian's eyes fell on the traditional Chinese medicine book again. He seemed to be uninterested. "Master, you don't have to hide it anymore. Why don't you participate in the challenge tournament and win the title of president?" Tang Linglong's words were full of exultation. She was very confident in Jiang Tian, as if the position of president was already in Jiang Tian's bag. Suddenly, Jiang Tian looked at the traditional Chinese medicine book and frowned. Won't Big Circle Lin Zhenyu show up? 20 years ago, after he lost to Yi Zhantian, he swore that he would never set foot on the mainland for the rest of his life. If he shows up, I'm afraid the long formation will suppress him. Ghost Kick had been in the martial arts world for many years. He was like an encyclopedia, knowing everything. The Martial Arts Alliance conference this time will be held at Poyang Manor of Gan Province's martial arts grandmaster Zhao Yuankuan. Zhao Yuankuan is Yi Zhantian's eldest disciple. If he dares to show up, Yi Zhantian will be the first to know. Sigh, what a pity. I thought I would have a chance to meet Lin Zhenyu. I didn't expect him not to show up. Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment. Ghost Kick was so shocked that his heart skipped a beat. Then, a wave of fanatical worship and admiration came over him. Master Kong was really amazing. He actually wanted to challenge a peerless master like Lin Zhenyu. At noon, the SUV stopped at a gas station to refuel. Jiang Tian and Ghost Kick got out of the car. They stretched their limbs and smoked a cigarette to rest. Suddenly, a girl in a white windbreaker jumped out of a Mercedes-Benz sports car. She shouted in surprise, "Jiang Tian, where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to Gan Province." Jiang Tian didn't expect to meet someone who knew him here. He turned his head and looked at the girl. She was about 27 or 28 years old. Her face was beautiful, and her skin was as smooth as jade. Her soft hair reached her shoulders, and her white windbreaker covered her curvaceous body. She had a pair of full breasts that pushed her sweater up and down. A pair of beige casual pants wrapped around a pair of slender legs. She wore a pair of patent leather high-heeled boots. He thought she looked familiar, but he couldn't remember who she was. So, he just answered casually. "You're going to Gan province? Can you give me a ride?" the girl asked excitedly. Jiang Tian looked a little hesitant. The girl punched Jiang Tian and said coquettishly, "Jiang Tian, don't tell me you don't remember what I did for you. If it weren't for me, you would have been caught cheating and expelled." "Oh, it's her." When she said that, Jiang Tian suddenly remembered that this girl was Jiang Tian's tutor when he was in university. Her name was Lin Monong. Back then, when Jiang Tian was studying at Jinling Pharmaceutical University, she was still a postgraduate student in Chinese medicine. She was also the tutor of Jiang Tian's cohort. She should have graduated with a doctorate by now. All right then. Is Ms. Lin still teaching? We'll talk about it later. Lin Monong looked around nervously. Seeing that Tang Linglong had finished filling up the car, she pulled Jiang Tian into the car. When the car started, Lin Monong let out a long sigh. She patted her full chest and said in a frightened voice, "Thank goodness. Thank goodness I was quick-witted and didn't catch up to me." Jiang Tian saw that she had lost her sports car and was so nervous. She even called herself a young girl. She was so cute. She didn't look as serious and rigid as she used to be. Jiang Tian couldn't help but joke, "Ms. Lin, are you being chased after like a thief because you stole something?" "Sigh, don't mention it." Lin Monong sighed helplessly. "My family arranged a marriage for me. The other party is a playboy. How could I agree? I'm running away from the marriage." "So you're a runaway bride?" Jiang Tian laughed. "Even a playboy can't force a marriage. This is a society ruled by law. There are police and government. Can the other party force a marriage?" Sigh. "You're just an ordinary person. How would you know how scary those people are? Not to mention forcing a marriage, they even dare to kill and steal." Lin Monong shook her head with a complicated expression. She didn't say anything and only sighed. However, with Lin Monong around, Jiang Tian's boring journey became much more interesting. "You don't know. Back then, when I first walked up to the podium, I was so nervous that my hands were trembling." Speaking of which, although Lin Monong was a lecturer and a tutor back then, she was only 3 years older than Jiang Tian. "No wonder you hit my head so hard with the pointer when you saw me sleeping. So you were trying to establish your authority. I still feel the pain even now." Jiang Tian rubbed his head exaggeratedly and grimaced. "Of course. Otherwise, how could I control a bunch of frisky monkeys like you?" Lin Monong rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian, adding a bit of charm to Jiang Tian. She asked curiously, "You were really a weirdo when you cheated that time. You actually wrote the notes on your thigh. When I went to catch you, you even shouted that I was molesting you. You're a hooligan. But it's strange. Why did the notes disappear when I went to the dean's office? Isn't that simple? It was summer back then. The weather was hot. I just rubbed it a little and it disappeared." Jiang Tian laughed. Chapter 174. Lin Monong talked about the interesting things that happened between her and her classmates. Jiang Tian's university days were also brought up. To anyone, university was an unforgettable experience. At that time, Jiang Tian was high-spirited, playful, and active. His life was carefree, and it was a very wonderful time. Suddenly, Lin Monong frowned and asked, "By the way, Jiang Tian, why are you going to Gan province this time?" "Oh, I'm going to Poyang Lake in Zhejiang to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference," Jiang Tian replied casually. "You know about the Martial Arts Alliance conference too?" Lin Monong was surprised. Disbelief was written all over her pretty face. The Martial Arts Alliance conference was a very high-end event. Those who attended the conference were either rich and powerful officials or people with special abilities. They were dragons and phoenixes among men. Even if they knew about it, they had to be from a certain dimension's rich and powerful families. Jiang Tian was just a normal person. How could he know about it? How could he be qualified to participate? Don't tell me you want to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance conference too. Jiang Tian was also in disbelief. Yeah, I heard there are many handsome young men there. I'm preparing to find a good husband and marry myself off. Lin Monong giggled and said. She was desperate because of the forced marriage. That family was very powerful. She wanted to find someone to rely on to resist them. Just like that, they chatted and laughed along the way. That night, Jiang Tian arrived at Gan Province's provincial capital, Hongcheng. After driving for more than 10 hours, Jiang Tian and the other two were all powerhouses. Naturally, they did not feel tired at all. However, Lin Monong was a normal person. Her body was very weak. She kept complaining that her waist and legs were sore from sitting, and she wanted to rest. Jiang Tian did not care about that. After all, there were still 2 days before the Martial Arts Alliance conference started. There was no hurry at all. Phantom Kick suggested in a low voice, Master Kong, Tianxi Hotel is the property of Gan Province's Xiao family. It's also the transit station for the Martial Arts Alliance conference this time. Why don't we rest there? Who knows, we might even meet some fellow cultivators. Yeah, that's good too. Jiang Tian agreed readily. Tianxi Hotel was also a 5-star hotel with luxurious decorations. Just the hotel alone was worth hundreds of millions. However, the fact that the Gan Province's Xiao clan was able to open this hotel in 7 or 8 prefecture-level cities was a testament to their strength. Jiang Tian returned to his room and washed off the dust on his body. He video-chatted with Xiao Xueqing for a while and was meditating with his legs crossed. Suddenly, Tang Linglong knocked on the door and entered. She looked a little uneasy. What's wrong? Jiang Tian asked with a smile. Master, my grandfather called just now. He asked us to return to Jiangbei as soon as possible and not attend the Martial Arts Alliance gathering, Tang Linglong said gently. Why? He received news that Mo Haoxiong's grandson is also attending the meeting. I'm afraid, you want to convince the Wu Alliance to deal with me? Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Master, how did you know? Tang Linglong was astonished. Her face was filled with disbelief. Hee, I've killed a lot of people in the past 6 months. How many people rely on me to support me is how many people hate me to the core. I'm afraid that many people want to get rid of me as soon as possible. Jiang Tian said indifferently. This sort of thing, Jiang Tian was already used to it long ago. Back then, he had dominated the universe and made the world his enemy. Who knew how many people gnashed their teeth at him? However, Jiang Tian was too powerful. Even if they gnashed their teeth to pieces, what could they do? Master, then don't you feel a little worried and sad? Tang Linglong asked timidly. A person who is not envied is a mediocre person. So what if I make the world my enemy? Jiang Tian sighed. Usually, when cultivation resources are scarce, it's the time of great competition. Resources are limited, but the desire of humans to become stronger is limitless. Which powerhouse in the world didn't step on piles of white bones to reach the top? So what if I make the world my enemy? Master, he is so domineering. Tang Linglong's eyes were filled with infatuation. Look at the red mountains, filled with the blood and tears of heroes. Look at the surging yellow river, filled with the white bones of heroes floating in it. Moreover, I don't kill good people. Jiang Tian couldn't help but think of the difficult Dao era of the Star Glory continent in the outer space. That planet once had an extremely prosperous cultivation civilization. They could even build planetary-level starships. But later, because of the excessive development of the cultivation civilization, the cultivation resources were exhausted and turned into ruins. It completely entered the difficult Dao era, where it was difficult for cultivators to advance even an inch. On the Star Glory continent, Jiang Tian once saw thousands of cultivators killing each other until rivers of blood flowed and mountains of bones were piled up for the most common spirit grass on other continents. Moreover, they expanded everywhere and used military force. They once annexed several continents and planets. Although there weren't many powerhouses on Earth, the cultivation resources were even fewer. Therefore, everyone would compete with each other. This kind of contradiction was impossible to reconcile. It was either you die or I die. Yes, Master, you're right. In fact, you never took the initiative to attack anyone. According to the secular world, it's called self-defense. Tang Linglong's eyes flashed with extraordinary splendor. She also complained about the injustice for Jiang Tian. If you're afraid that Elder Tang will be worried, then go back. I can deal with it. A touch of kindness appeared on Jiang Tian's face. He faintly smiled and said, "No, Master. This is a dangerous trip. Linglong wants to fight side by side with you." Tang Linglong's phoenix eyes turned cold. Her killing intent was awe-inspiring. Her charming face was full of determination. "All right. With Master here, I won't let you suffer the slightest bit of harm." Seeing her sincere face, Jiang Tian thought that this girl still had a conscience. He could only nod and say with a smile, "Go and rest. Don't forget to explain to Elder Tang. Don't let him worry." After Tang Linglong left, Jiang Tian continued to meditate cross-legged. In the early hours of the morning, Jiang Tian's divine sense suddenly sensed two powerful auras entering the hotel. He couldn't help but let out a faint smile. Huh? Is there an attack from a powerful master? Normally, Jiang Tian wouldn't pay attention to them. However, after hearing Tang Linglong's words, he knew that they were here for him. He immediately activated his divine sense and spread it out in all directions, covering the entire hotel. In Jiang Tian's divine sense, if it was an ordinary person without any cultivation, they would only be a small gray shadow. But the iron body warriors were like burning candles, and the internal strength masters were like burning torches, burning fiercely. Transcendent grandmasters like Heng Tianzhao and Mo Haoxiong were like big fireballs, lighting up a large area of the sky. Huh? They should only be two martial artists with the cultivation of inner strength. Jiang Tian found a few torch-like true qi fluctuations in the small bar on the third floor of the hotel. He immediately shrouded and locked onto them with his divine sense. "Are you young Master Hichu of the Hong family? You're here. May I know why you're looking for me?" An old man quickly greeted a young man and cupped his fists. Jiang Tian recognized this man. He was Zhang Wendao, the man who had a conflict with him in Battle Dragon. Hong Hichu. Jiang Tian's heart skipped a beat. He heard that he was Heng Tianzhao's son. It seemed that he had come from Hubei province to welcome Zhang Wendao. Hong Hichu bowed deeply and cupped his fists. "Master Zhang, I heard that you are going to attend the Martial Arts Alliance conference this time. I have a few words to say to you on behalf of my grandfather. It turns out that Brother Junshan asked him to pass on a message." "Please speak." Zhang Wendao said politely. "Do you know Master Kong of Jiangbei? He has harmed Jianghu and stirred up a storm. He even killed my father. Grandpa knows that you used to be the saber arts instructor of Battle Dragon, so I would like to ask you to say a few words of justice for the Hong family in front of President Wei at the Martial Arts Alliance conference." Hong Hichu said with a sad face. Jiang Tian frowned when he heard that. He had indeed come for him. He didn't know how Zhang Wendao would respond. He should be grateful that he had shown mercy to Zhang Qitian that day. "Hey, what? Your father was also killed by this bastard?" Unexpectedly, Zhang Wendao suddenly showed an inexplicable righteous indignation. He slammed the table and scolded angrily. Then he shook his head sadly and sighed. Nephew Tenzho is a young grandmaster in the top 20 of the divine role. His death is a great loss to the martial arts world of Huaxia. When Jiang Tian heard this, he shook his head disappointedly and sighed softly. He didn't expect that the martial artists on Earth were more insidious and cunning than the cultivators from the outer space. They were humble and submissive on the surface, but they were ruthless on the inside. If he had known this, he would have killed Zhang Qitian directly. It seems that Master Zhang is indeed righteous. The Hong family thanks you in advance. Hong Hichu clasped his hands respectfully, then pulled out his sword and said passionately, now the Tang sect in Shu, the Wang family in Luoyang, the Mo family in Lingnan, and other martial arts families have joined forces to kill Jiang Tian at the Martial Arts Alliance Conference. Although I am not talented, I have the cultivation of advanced stage internal force. I must kill my enemy and avenge my father. Speaking of this, he closed his sword and sighed deeply. I'm afraid that Kang Taechu will not dare to participate in the Martial Arts Alliance Conference after knowing how powerful it is. That's hard to say, Zhang Wendao frowned and said, although this guy is arrogant and despotic, he is also quite intelligent. I don't know if he will walk right into the trap. When Jiang Tian heard this, he shook his head and thought that they would probably curse him for being ruthless until dawn. He was too lazy to listen to them. He slowly withdrew his divine sense and continued to meditate with his legs crossed. A few hours later, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Jiang Tian slowly spat out a white light and ended his cultivation. He scanned the area with his divine sense. Hong Hichu and Zhang Wendao were already sleeping in a room. The tea table was in a mess, and there were many beer bottles on the floor. It seemed that they had a good chat last night and had been talking for most of the night. Jiang Tian had a wicked idea. He picked up a piece of paper and a pen and wrote a note. He used a wall-passing talisman on himself, and in a few breaths, he passed through layers of walls and arrived at the room where the two were. Then, Jiang Tian slowly pulled out Hong Hichu's sword and stuffed the note into the scabbard. After resting for a while, Tang Linglong, Phantom Kick, and Lin Manong woke up. The group had breakfast, checked out at the front desk, and set off again. At noon, they finally arrived at Zhejiang City in Yi Province. Zhejiang was backed by Mount Lu, overlooking the huge Poyang Lake. The rolling Yangtze River flowed through the city. The air was fresh, and the trees were shady. It was a small city with a beautiful environment. The car passed through Zhejiang City and arrived at Hukou County under Zhejiang. The Martial Arts Alliance Conference was held at Poyang Manor near Hanpuku. Poyang Manor was built beside the mountain and the river. It occupied a vast area and had an antique feel. It looked up at Mount Lu, overlooking dozens of miles of Poyang Lake, and the rolling Yangtze River. It was very elegant and rich. In the parking lot outside the manor, luxury cars were like rain. There were many BMWs and Mercedes-Benz. There was a hubbub of people at the entrance. Financial giants, local tyrants, and cultural celebrities appeared one after another. There was no lack of political figures. Chapter 175. Chairman Liu of Tai Long Real Estate. His assets are in the billions. Why is he here? Chairman Zhang of Northwest Mining. He seems to be in the top 100 of the Forbes rich list. Seeing this, Lin Manong was dumbfounded. It was as if Granny Lu had just entered the Grand View Garden for the first time and widened her horizons. I want to meet the Eight Extremities Fist Master, Mr. Ouyang. Can you make an exception and let me in? Is Priest Lu here? I want to ask him to enlighten me. Please let me in. Miracle Dr. Shui is inside, right? Please let me in. My son is seriously ill. I want to ask for a pill. However, they were all stopped by a group of bodyguards. They couldn't enter at all and could only beg at the door. Lin Manong listened carefully and was even more shocked. She couldn't believe it. This Poyang Manor is so arrogant. Even these tycoons are blocked. It's as if they don't have the right to enter. Any one of these tycoons was a well-known figure. Their influence in the area and industry they were in was terrifying. Just a stomp of their feet would make them tremble. However, at this moment, they were blocked at the door like little kids asking for candy. They didn't have the right to enter the manor. Martial artists, Dharma cultivators, medical experts. Their abilities are beyond the power of the mortal world. Who wouldn't want to know one or two of them as their backing? Jiang Tian had long since gotten used to this. He only scanned the surroundings with an indifferent expression. At a glance, there are more than a dozen internal force experts. Jiang Tian's divine sense instantly swept across the area within a few miles of Poyang Manor. He was familiar with everything. He nodded slightly. His eyes narrowed slightly as he understood something. It seemed like the martial arts alliance gathering this time was of a much higher level than the one organized by Shenong School. They couldn't be compared at all. Shenong School's exchange was mainly about pills. At the end of the day, it was just a semi-hidden sect with limited influence. However, it was different this time. The Martial Arts Alliance had called for it, and there was a long formation to endorse it. Many grandmasters were also vying for the position of the Martial Arts Alliance's president. It could be said that all the martial artists in the world had gathered, and even the veteran grandmasters were alarmed. The Martial Arts Alliance appeared to be the leader of a civil organization, but it was actually inextricably linked to the Long Formation. The president of the Martial Arts Alliance was second only to Yi Zhantian. It could be said that he was second only to Yi Zhantian. Who wouldn't want to sit in that position? Those with higher cultivations coveted the position of president. They wanted to fight it out and were eager to give it a try. Those with low cultivations also knew that this was the biggest martial arts gathering in the past 5 years. They wanted to broaden their horizons and watch the experts fight, comprehend martial arts, and verify their cultivation. This would also be of great benefit to the improvement of his strength. Sister Lin Monong, you're finally here. Did anything happen along the way? After Lin Monong made a call, a girl with a bright smile suddenly ran over and grabbed her hand, asking with concern. The girl was very beautiful. She had a small and cute oval face, and her skin was as tender as milk. She had big watery eyes, and her tall nose gave her a sense of playfulness. Her captivating red lips were like freshly washed strawberries, moist and attractive. It was December in Gan Province, and the weather was already slightly chilly by the side of the mountain forest and the shore of the Great Lake. Many people were wearing winter clothes. However, this girl was wearing a miniskirt with a small suit, brown suede boots, and black stockings wrapped around a pair of long, slender legs. It was extremely seductive. Meng Yao, luckily we met Jiang Tian on the way. We got a ride from him and got rid of those people. Lin Monong said with a doting smile. You're Jiang Tian. Meng Yao stared at Jiang Tian's college classmate in disbelief, her pretty eyes wide open. House Chu started out in advertising and consulting, with a few $100 million in assets. They weren't the top house in Jinling, but they were many times more powerful than the average well-off family. As the young miss of House Chu in Jinling, Meng Yao rode in a luxurious sports car when she went out, stayed in a 5-star hotel, and wore famous brands. Her food and clothing far exceeded that of a normal family's. Moreover, Meng Yao was in charge of the family business when she was still in university. Her talent in business wasn't bad, and she was one of the most sought-after socialites in Jinling. She came from a good family, and her looks were top-notch. Her figure was perfect, and her aura was pure and seductive. She was one of the prettiest girls in university. Jiang Tian was young and inexperienced back then. He was full of hormones, and spent all his time picking up girls and fighting. Naturally, he wouldn't miss out on a beauty like Meng Yao, and had pursued her. Meng Yao knew that Jiang Tian came from a good family, and had tried to date him for a while. Meng Yao, however, matured early. She'd been sitting in on the board meetings since she was 14, and it didn't take long for her to realize that Jiang Tian was an idiot. She'd stopped paying attention to Jiang Tian after that. Jiang Tian had been heartbroken for a while because of that. He'd put up candles and 1,000 roses in front of Meng Yao's dormitory to show his love for her. It had caused quite a commotion, but that only made Meng Yao hate him more. In Meng Yao's impression, Jiang Tian was always sleepy, listless, frivolous, flippant. He was basically a fighter jet in the trash. However, at this time, Jiang Tian had delicate features and clean hair. Although he was only wearing simple casual clothes, his eyes were as calm as an ancient well, giving people a sense of steadiness that was as deep as the abyss and as high as the mountain. Meng Yao couldn't help but click her tongue. Didn't Jiang Tian get kicked out of the house? How did he become so outstanding? Jiang Tian only had a vague impression of her. He only nodded with a smile when she called out his name. Right now, he only had Zhao Xu etching in his heart. When they were in university, he had only held hands with her. It was just like how he had a one-night stand with the superstar Li Huiyan. However, they did not owe each other anything. How could it stir up a ripple in his heart? He's not flippant anymore, but he's a little arrogant now. What gives him the right to do that? Meng Yao rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian proudly. She was a little pissed off. As far as she was concerned, Jiang Tian was an abandoned child from a broken house. He should be sucking up to her like a dog, but Jiang Tian was ignoring her. She didn't like Jiang Tian at all. If Jiang Tian knew what she was thinking, he'd probably smile bitterly and sigh. Only women and villains are hard to deal with. You're arrogant when you're close, and resentful when you're far away. In actuality, many girls were like that. If you were close to them, they'd think you were frivolous and had bad intentions. If you kept your distance, they'd think you were arrogant and disrespectful. In short, it was your fault no matter what. Perhaps this was the privilege of a beautiful woman. However, even though she wanted to make things difficult for Jiang Tian, she couldn't find a suitable reason to do so. She could only hold back her displeasure for the time being. She held Lin Monong's small hand and said in distress, "Sorry for the trouble, Mo Nong. Xia Miao can't bring us in. The water manor isn't giving us any face at all." As it turned out, they didn't even get an invitation to the Martial Arts Alliance. In Jinling, they were considered one of the wealthiest families in the country. However, in China, there were countless middle-class families with tens of millions of assets. The Martial Arts Alliance Conference only had a few hundred seats for the common world. Even in Lingnan, there were only 10 or so seats, and all of them were rich and powerful people with assets above 10 billion. If even a small fry like Meng Yao was allowed to go in, wouldn't the venue be filled to the brim? House Xia wasn't a small family in Jinling. They had a 30% stake in the antique street in Confucius Temple. Their assets were in the billions. Xia Miao, on the other hand, had gotten an invitation to watch with her father. Xia Miao was pursuing Meng Yao, and since Lin Monong and Tang Bao were her best friends, Xia Miao said that she'd bring them in to broaden their horizons. But when the tickets were checked, the water manor was very strict. They didn't give Meng Yao any face at all. They kicked Meng Yao out, and even scolded Xia Miao. What should we do? Lin Monong didn't know what to do. Her face was full of worry, and her beautiful eyes were about to tear up. She wanted to find a martial arts master to solve this problem, but now it was all for nothing. Seeing this, Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "Don't worry, Master Lin. I'll bring you in later." "Jiang Tian, what did you say?" Lin Monong couldn't believe it. She looked at Jiang Tian in surprise. Meng Yao, who'd been pissed off at Jiang Tian all this time, finally found a chance to lash out at him. Her red lips curled as her eyebrows shot up to the sky. "Jiang Tian, what are you joking about? What kind of occasion do you think this is? Even Xia Miao can't bring us in. You can." Jiang Tian was indifferent. He didn't want to talk to her, and Phantom Kick didn't dare to say anything. "My master didn't say anything about bringing you in. It's none of your business." However, Tang Linglong had always been sharp-tongued. Seeing that Meng Yao was disrespectful to her master, she didn't hold back. You dare to scold me? Meng Yao couldn't believe it. Tang Linglong walked towards the door with Jiang Tian in her arms. Lin Monong followed them subconsciously. What did you say? Sigh, Sister Monong, don't be stupid. He must be lying to you. Meng Yao was so angry that her body was trembling. She pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted. Are you waiting to be beaten to death? At this moment, a pretty girl with baby fat on her face walked over. She pouted her red lips and asked curiously. Meng Yao sis, what's wrong? Why are you shouting? What's wrong with Sister Lin Monong? The girl had a petite body, but a pair of full breasts that didn't match her age was especially attractive. Behind her, there was also a handsome young man who was helping her carry her fruit juice and handbag. His name was Yi Feng, and he was their golden bodyguard. Look. Meng Yao quickly complained about Jiang Tian. Ha, are you talking about that idiot who gave you flowers and sang Norwegian Forest with a broken guitar in college? Tang laughed so hard that her breasts rippled with dazzling white waves. She giggled and said, speaking of which, his singing isn't bad. It's as good as 5.5. Chapter 176. Murderous intent flashed in Yifeng's eyes when he heard that. He was an ace assassin from a famous international assassin organization. However, he received orders from his master a year ago to protect Miss Meng Yao. At first, he was a little against it. After all, his reputation as Pluto was known throughout the underworld, and his pay wasn't low either. Being Meng Yao's bodyguard for a year was only 200,000. But in the past year, he'd been living with Meng Yao and Tang Bao, in the same blue villa. He'd solved countless crises for them, and the three had formed a deep friendship. In Yifeng's eyes, Meng Yao and Tang Bao, as well as their best friend Lin Monong, were all his women. How could he let this bastard think about them? Assassin accepted a mission from his master, returned to the city, and went down the mountain to protect Miss Meng Yao. Wasn't that how it was written in the novels? His voice is lousy. How can it be as good as you say? Meng Yao rolled her eyes and pouted. 500.5. That's 250. He's 250. Tang Bao, shrugged and smiled mockingly. Bao sure has a sense of humor. Yi Feng handed over the juice and smiled faintly. Miss Bao, I'll bring you in. With that, he grabbed the two girls' hands and took a look, taking advantage of them. Miss Meng Yao's hands are so slender, so soft and boneless. Bao's hands aren't bad either. They're really small and chubby. It'd be great if she could help me hit someone. Yi Feng thought happily in his heart as he walked towards the door with a majestic gait. The bodyguards had been poisoned by all sorts of weird novels, and their work ethic was getting worse and worse. All of them wanted to hit on Miss Meng Yao. Meng Yao and Tang Bao, blushed, but they didn't push his hands away. They'd been flirting with each other for the past few days, enjoying the forbidden pleasure. Yi Feng swaggered and moved very quickly. The moment he overtook Jiang Tian and the others, he did not forget to cast a disdainful glance at Jiang Tian, and his heart was filled with mockery. I heard that he's the useless disciple of the Jiang family of Jinling. He's really too ignorant. He thought that he could just rely on his family's protection to barge into the forbidden area. How could he know that the martial arts experts here are all ruthless and ruthless? Yi Feng, are you sure we can just barge in like that? Meng Yao asked worriedly. If Big Brother Yi Feng makes a move, it will definitely work. Tang Bao, held her full breasts as she looked at Jiang Tian with adoration. It was as if there was nothing he couldn't do. Last time, several armed bodyguards suddenly rushed into the blue villa, wanting to kidnap him and Sister Meng Yao. He was almost scared to death. But Yi Feng only used a few chopsticks to kill them all, saving the sisters from danger. After that, Tang Bao, had secretly fallen in love with him and wanted to marry him with Big Sister Meng Yao. Yifeng bit on the straw of his juice and arrogantly walked up to the guard. He said coolly, "Move aside. I'm sorry, please show me your invitation letter." "How many times have I told you this rule?" The guard frowned and said impatiently. "I said move aside." Yifeng's lips curled up into a devilish smile as he said slowly. "Wow, Big Brother Yifeng is so cool." Tang Bao looked at Yifeng with adoration, her eyes sparkling. She knew that when Yifeng smiled, he would often give the opponent a thunderous blow and use bloody methods. In fact, this was Yifeng's usual method. He knew that if he smiled before hitting someone, his movements and words were slower, it would give people the impression that he was acting cool. Sigh, how could a small guard know how scary Big Brother Yifeng is? He's in the middle stage of the Iron Body realm. Meng Yao shook her head and sighed. She thought that the guard would probably regret his actions for the rest of his life. Sigh, don't spill the juice. I still need to drink it later. Yifeng carefully placed the glass of juice on the ground and threw a punch at the guard. Ha, you don't know what's good for you. How would you know how powerful my big brother Yifeng is? Tang Bao, was someone who loved to see the world in chaos. She immediately took a bite of her juice and laughed mockingly. Sigh, Yifeng, can you not be so violent? Meng Yao scolded as well, but she didn't intend to stop him at all. But the smile on Tang Bao's face froze before it could fully blossom. They didn't even see how the guard moved. All they heard was a muffled thump, and Yifeng flew out like a kite with a broken string. Bam! He flew 5 meters before landing on the ground like a dead dog. The ground shook, and dust flew everywhere. His face was twisted in pain, and he spat out all the juice he had just drank. Big Brother Yifeng. Isn't Big Brother Yifeng a master? Why did he get beaten up so badly? Meng Yao and Tang Bao had guessed the beginning, but they never expected the ending. They were stunned for a full 3 seconds before rushing to Yifeng to help him up. Yifeng couldn't stop vomiting. His face was terrifyingly pale, and he wanted to cry. This wasn't going according to the script at all. He'd wanted to show off, but who knew that the opponent would be so strong that he'd become an idiot? This guard is too strong, isn't he? Lin Monong was stunned. She couldn't believe it, but she didn't help Yifeng. Yifeng was a smooth talker, and he often peeked at them bathing. She didn't like it. You dare to barge into Poyang Manor? You must be tired of living. I think I should kill you and let you know what the rules are. The guard's face was dark, and his eyes were cold as he closed in on Yifeng. He was really annoyed. Who knew how many people like this wanted to barge into the gathering today? It seemed that he had to cripple 1 or 2 of them to let these people know what the dignity of a martial arts family was. Everyone opened a path with fear in their eyes. Jiang Tian, can you help him? I live with Meng Yao and Bao. He's our bodyguard. Lin Monong didn't believe that Jiang Tian could save Yifeng, but she was at her wit's end. Jiang Tian was her life-saving straw. She couldn't just watch him be beaten to death. Oh, I see, Jiang Tian didn't care about this. He waved to the bodyguard and said, Brother guard, this is my friend. I'm sorry for offending you. Can you make an exception? You are. The guard saw that he was polite and didn't act recklessly like Yifeng. He immediately had a good impression of him and asked with a frown. Ghost Kick took a step forward and whispered a few words in the guard's ear. The guard was shocked and his face changed dramatically. He took 2 steps forward and cupped his fists respectfully. I didn't know that Master Kong was coming. Please forgive me for being late to welcome you. Master Kong, please. He didn't even check the invitation. He bowed and gestured, leading the way. You're welcome. Jiang Tian nodded with a calm expression, then he walked towards the door. He's going in just like that? Lin Monong was dumbfounded. Disbelief was written all over her face. She knew Jiang Tian's identity very well. He was an abandoned son of the Jiang family, a useless piece of trash. Moreover, the Jiang family was on the verge of collapse. But just now, many of the young masters of the rich and powerful families had been stopped by the guards without any hesitation. But now, the guards were so respectful to Jiang Tian. "Master Lin, let's go." Tang Linglong tugged at her, and only then did she realize what was going on and follow Jiang Tian. Isn't this guy a rich young master? Why is he being so respectful? Meng Yao and Yifeng's eyeballs fell out of their sockets as well, their faces filled with disbelief. They stood there like wooden chickens, completely forgetting to follow Jiang Tian. Tang Bao reacted quickly. She waved and shouted, "Big brother Jiang Tian, can you bring us in? You were scolding me behind my back, and now I'm your big brother." Jiang Tian didn't even turn his head. He couldn't be bothered to look at them. His heart was filled with disdain. Rich young ladies were always like this. They were arrogant at first, but now they were respectful. It was as if he should help them just because they called him big brother. Lin Manong tugged at Jiang Tian's sleeve and begged, "Jiang Tian, help me say something. They're quite close to me. I really owe you." Jiang Tian shook his head helplessly and nodded at the guard. Only then did the guard open a path for them to pass. The moment they entered the manor, they saw flowers, trees, and strange rocks. The flowing water from Poyang Lake formed ponds and streams, connecting with each other. The pavilions were all antique buildings. The corridor was filled with giant vases made by Jingdezhen's craftsmen. There were Buddha's hands, peach branches, lotus leaves, bamboo leaves, and so on. It was full of ancient charm. Just one of these vases could be sold for millions. It was enough for a normal family to buy a few mansions. The manor was about 100 mu in size. It was built next to Hanpaku Lake, overlooking Shizhong Mountain. On one side was the rolling Yangtze River, and on the other was Poyang Lake. I've heard that House Xiao from Gan Province is also a century-old family. Seeing it today, it does have some charm. Seeing this, Jiang Tian nodded slightly. A trace of praise appeared on his face. House Xiao's ancestors were martial arts tycoons. During the Republic of China, they occupied Mount Lu and served as Jiang Gong's guards. Later on, the head of the family came to his senses and joined the revolution. He supported the revolutionary army and became one of the 5 tiger generals of Gan province. Zhao Yuankuan was already the 3rd generation. He went one step further and became a martial arts grandmaster. He dominated the province and had countless disciples. Many rich people saw him as their protector. It could be said that Zhao Yuankuan's position in Gan province was like an emperor. He was on the same level as Heng Tianzhao from Hubei province. He was second only to Wu Yingxiong and Li Tuofeng. What's Jiang Tian's background? Why are the guards so respectful towards him? Looking at the magnificent manor, Meng Yao clicked her tongue. This manor was like a royal garden. It wasn't something her small house Chu could compare to. Moreover, with her keen eyesight, she noticed that the jade-green thumb ring on the hand of the guard who hit Yi Feng was an antique that was worth hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Even a normal guard's jewelry was so expensive. It was far more expensive than the rich people in the world. It showed how deep House Xiao's foundation was. Because of this, she was even more curious. Why would a top family like this need to give face to Jiang Tian? Chapter 177. Isn't he relying on the protection of his clan? Otherwise, why would they give him face? Yi Feng's clothes were covered in filthy vomit, and he was in an extremely sorry state. However, he still refused to admit it even at this moment, and his gaze was filled with disdain. He was very unwilling to submit to Jiang Tian. He'd been an orphan since he was young, and he only acknowledged his master and didn't know his parents. Moreover, he hated disciples of reputable clans like Jiang Tian. Big brother Yi Feng, didn't you say that you're an iron body expert and are invincible in Huaxia? Suddenly, Tang Bao, pouted her bright red lips, frowned, and spoke with an aggrieved and disappointed expression. Ha! I was talking about an expert in personal combat. The type that comes into close contact with their employer. Yi Feng had an evil smile on his face, and he intentionally glanced at Tang Bao's ample chest and cleavage. Actually, he didn't possess any cultivation in the martial Dao, and his strength was only at the top amongst mercenaries and assassins. He couldn't compare to a true martial artist at all. It turned out that whenever Jiang Tian joked like this, Tang Bao would grin from ear to ear and call him a scoundrel and a pervert. Humph. You're really bored. Get your facts straight, you're a bodyguard. Don't talk to me like that. However, Tang Bao had a cold and gloomy expression while her eyes were filled with annoyance. After that, she ran over to Jiang Tian's side and asked him all sorts of questions. Kid, just you wait. Let me see exactly what sort of strength you possess. I'll definitely beat you to death. Yi Feng gnashed his teeth with hatred when he witnessed this scene, and the flames of jealousy blazed madly within him. He wished for nothing more than to burn Jiang Tian's bones and scatter his ashes. Master Kong, this courtyard is called Aura of Wind, and it's specially prepared for you. If you need anything, feel free to instruct those servants. The guard led them through a few entrances and made many turns, and it almost caused them to get dizzy. After walking for over 10 minutes, they finally stopped before the entrance to a large courtyard. All right, sorry for the disturbance. Jiang Tian smiled. You can eat here tonight or at the restaurant. There will be many fellow martial artists there, and it's good to get along well. The guard cupped his fists respectfully. All right, Li Yang, thank you for your hard work. Jiang Tian nodded. Seeing that the guard had accompanied him diligently and had a simple and honest personality, Jiang Tian casually rewarded him with something. Thank you, Master Kong. The guard named Li Yang bowed and left the courtyard. Seeing that it was a small porcelain bottle, he didn't take it to heart. However, when he opened it, he was so shocked that he almost jumped up. Fuck, an essence pill. It can help me break through once. This medicinal pill can't even be bought for 10 million. He looked reverently at Jiang Tian, who was strolling around the courtyard, and said in a trembling voice, Master Kong is indeed Master Kong. He's so heroic. At the next moment, he shook his head and said regretfully, what a pity. I heard that the purpose of this Martial Arts Alliance conference is to discuss how to deal with this Master Kong. Should I have reminded him earlier? For a moment, he couldn't make up his mind, but after thinking for a moment, he still walked towards a large hall in the north of the manor. At the same time, in a large hall, there was a black plaque hanging on the wall. The words, Hall of Brotherhood, were engraved on it. The words, handwritten by Yi Zhantian, were written vertically below. The hall was filled with martial artists, both men and women, but all of them were over 40 years old. Each of them had a dignified aura and sharp eyes. At first glance, one could tell that they were all highly skilled martial artists. Who is that Kang Taechu? How could he cause such a huge stir in the Jianghu world? At the head of the table sat an old man in his 60s. His face was rosy and his body was slightly plump. Although he was still smiling, there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. This was the president of the Martial Arts Alliance, Wei Feilong. He was also a transcendent initial stage cultivator. Although he was not as powerful as Yi Zhantian, he had once fought alongside Yi Zhantian and was now the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. President Wei, Kang Taechu is too cruel. Hong Tianzhao and I are sworn brothers, but he still killed him. Sitting next to him was an old man in his 50s. He had a resolute face, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes. The energy around him was as deep as the ocean. He looked like an unsheathed sword, ready to unleash its sharpness. The Grand Master of Gan Province, Zhao Yuankuan. His face was filled with grief and resentment. Brother Tenzhou is a righteous man. Who in the Jianghu world doesn't respect him? His death is a great loss to the martial arts world. President Wei, you must uphold justice and avenge Tenzhou. Hong Junshan, the family head of the Hong family, rose to his feet shakily. His eyes were red and his face was filled with grief. That Kang Tae-chu is too cruel. My grandpa and old immortal Wei were both killed by him. Another man got up from his seat and knelt on the floor. Tears streamed down his face as he gritted his teeth and complained about Jiang Tian's heinous crimes. This man was the grandson of the Grand Master of Lingnan, Mo Haoxiong, Mo Lin Hai. What? Old man Mo and old man Wei were killed by him. What an arrogant man. Wei Failong slammed the table, his face dark. All these years, Yi Zhantian had been in seclusion. The Huaxiaolong formation was mainly focused on dealing with the hostile forces of the mutants. The heavy responsibility of suppressing the evil martial artists in the country and maintaining order was placed on his shoulders. Overall, in the past 5 years, the martial arts world in the country had reached a state of balance. There were few disputes, and the world was at peace. Who would have thought that such an arrogant man would appear before he stepped down? Not only that, Kang Tae-chu also killed my family. We must get rid of this scourge of the martial arts world. The Tang sect of Shu Zhong, the Wang family of Luoyang, and the Chap Gua Quan stood up and shouted with righteous indignation. Who gave him the courage to disregard the morality of the martial arts world, kill the innocent, and bully the weak? Wei Feilong's face was red with anger. He gritted his teeth and wanted nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. Yeah, if he has the ability, he should go out of the country and defeat those hostile forces. What's the point of being arrogant? The martial arts world is one family. This Kang Tae-chu may have some skills, but he is too ruthless. He is simply a scourge. A scourge demon. Kang Tae-chu is perverse and deranged. If he is not removed, the martial arts world will not be peaceful. Seeing Wei Feilong's anger, many martial artists under the table gnashed their teeth and were filled with righteous indignation. Sigh. President Wei, there is something you don't know. This man is not an ordinary person. He was once the martial arts consultant of War Dragon. Suddenly, Zhang Wendao said bitterly, he has the support of the government and is fearless. Isn't he just doing whatever he wants? What? He was the consultant of War Dragon. Many of the martial artists present were greatly shocked and exclaimed one after another. War Dragon's combat strength was second only to the Long formation, but the military was more powerful. To be their martial arts consultant was not an ordinary person. When did he become the consultant of War Dragon? Wei Failong blinked, his eyes flickering as he asked in a deep voice. About a month ago, I guess, Zhang Wendao said with a wry smile, this man is ruthless and ruthless. When my son fought with him that day, he used a long saber made of silk and seriously injured his internal organs. He still hasn't gotten up yet. Qi Tian is a talent of the younger generation. How could he be so seriously injured by him? Brother Wendao was also the saber technique instructor of War Dragon. Your nephew Zhang Lang and Kang Tae-chu can be said to be comrades in arms, but he was so heavy-handed. He is crazy. Hearing this, many experts were heartbroken. Their hearts burned with anger, and they hated Jiang Tian even more. Kang Tae-chu is already the most outstanding martial arts grandmaster of the younger generation in Huaxia. It is not easy for him to be able to make a chi weapon and hurt people from a distance. But how could he be so ruthless and ruthless? Does he want to be the only man in the world? There were also martial artists who shook their heads and sighed regretfully. After learning about the relationship between Jiang Tian and War Dragon, everyone felt that the situation was complicated and important. The discussion gradually quieted down. Finally, they all looked at Wei Failong and waited for his decision. If Kang Tae-chu is just a Jianghu bumpkin, then so be it. Wei Failong went silent for a moment when he heard this, and then he let out a long sigh and said slowly, but he's a comrade of Taoist Brother Wen's. Should we give him some face, persuade him with reason, and make him abandon evil and do good? When a real man does something, he should put integrity first. Some feelings for his comrade in arms should be thrown to the back of his mind. At this time, Zhang Mingli summoned her courage and clenched her fists again. She stood up from behind Zhang Wendao. She took a step forward, puffed out her full chest, and shouted, "Hua Xia's martial arts have been declining day by day. Which famous hero doesn't have a few unique skills? But now that he has been killed by Kang Taechu, his legacy has been cut off. If this goes on, won't our Hua Xia's martial arts be finished?" Originally, she was not qualified to speak at this kind of occasion. But thinking of her brother Zhang Qitian's tragic situation, she could not swallow the anger in her heart. When she first opened her mouth, she was unusually nervous and sweating on her forehead. But the more she spoke, the braver she became and the smoother her words became. Her pink face was full of anger, and she said vehemently, "Even if our Zhang family has some relationship with him, we can't abandon justice because of personal kindness. As the saying goes, righteousness is above family. What's more, he was only a temporary martial arts consultant of War Dragon. He has already left." As soon as she finished speaking, the crowd cheered. Qiu Gong and Li Junwei, who had been invited to the banquet, became angrier and angrier. At this time, Duke Qiu could not take it anymore. He stood up and said in a low voice, "Does everyone remember that Grandmaster Jiang killed Xing Shanhu of the Big Circle Gang? Xing Shanhu represented the De Huan gang and wanted to invade the inland. It was Master Kong who turned the tide. Otherwise, the Jiangbei region would have fallen into the hands of outsiders. Yeah, the reason why Elder Mo and Wei Shuofeng were killed by Master Kong was because Wei Shuofeng wanted to invade the Jiangbei region first. Master Kong is the leader of Jiangbei. How could he just sit back and do nothing?" Even though Li Junwei knew that he was no match for many transcendent masters, he still stood up to speak for Jiang Tian. Ling Nan martial arts was not flourishing. This time, only the two of them were invited to the banquet. Humph, Kang Taechu fought for the sake of Jiang Bei for his own personal gain and territory. Zhang Mingli said disdainfully. Humph, that's right. Only a bunch of spineless Jiang Bei people would support him. But in our Hong clan, we will fight Jiang Taichu to the death. Hong Hichu also cursed angrily. Chapter 178. Qiu Gong was so angry that his face turned pale. He jumped into the air and said coldly, "Humph, I saw it clearly that day. It was the Hong family and the Shinong school who plotted against Master Kong and wanted to rob Master Kang's top-grade elixir formula. That was why Master Kong fought back. Who can you blame if your skills are inferior and you die an unnatural death? Yuan Qiuqiu, who do you think you are? You are just Yi Gufeng's personal bodyguard, Kang Taechu's lackey." Hong Hichu knew that he was in the wrong. His face turned red, but he didn't show mercy. He scolded with disdain, "You don't have the right to enter the Martial Arts Alliance conference. Get out of here with your tail between your legs. I'm going to be Kang Taechu's lackey until the end. So what if the Hong family is a famous family? Come on, let me see what you can do." Duke Qiu rolled up his sleeves and roared, "If Jiang Taichu really is the public enemy of the martial world, killing without restraint as you say, his hands stained with blood, I will be the first to fight him to the death. But even if there are thousands of heroes in the world, a lackey like you, Hong Hichu, won't stand a chance. Who do you think you are? You are just a young man. How dare you talk nonsense here? You are just an old man. Do you think I will be afraid of you?" Hong Hichu was also a young talent. How could he stand it? He also jumped into the arena. Clang! He pulled out his sword, but suddenly saw a piece of paper falling slowly from the scabbard. He looked down at the small line of words on the paper, "Kang Taechu pays his respects." Hong Hichu was stunned. His face turned pale and he said in a trembling voice, "This is the note from the hotel I stayed in yesterday. When did he get close to me?" His boiling hot blood turned into cold sweat, and his heart was filled with horror. This Jiang Taichu was so powerful that he could actually approach him without making a sound. Even his treasured sword was affected, and he didn't even know about it. If he wanted to kill him, How could he still be alive? Seeing that Hong Hichu was slightly stunned, Zhao Yuankuan quickly took the opportunity to smooth things over. The world of martial arts is one family. Both of you are my honored guests, so please don't lose your harmony. Seeing this, Hong Hichu went along with it. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and returned to his seat. Ha! It's so rare for such a talented person to appear in Hua Xia's martial arts world. I think he should be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. Just when the crowd of heroes was thinking of making a fuss about it, suddenly, a sinister voice rang out, like the screech of a night owl. When the crowd of heroes heard this, they were immediately enraged. One after another, they berated, "Who's talking? Come out if you have the guts. What's the point of sneaking around in the crowd? Which bastard is spouting such nonsense?" But that person only said a few words and did not say anything else. The entire hall was silent. The crowd looked around for a long time but could not see who was talking. Although they were angry, there was nothing they could do. The crowd of heroes was ridiculed with sarcastic words, they were all very angry. The majority of the Wulin people were straightforward, their education level was not high. Some of them cursed loudly, some of them shouted loudly. The scene was chaotic. Wei Feilong frowned and said in a low voice, "Everyone, please don't panic. Listen to me." The crowd quieted down. The hoarse voice rang out from the crowd again. "Wei Feilong, you're just Yi Zhantian's dog. Don't pretend to be someone important. What kind of advice do you have? It's just that there's no need to talk about Jianghu morality when dealing with a madman like Kang Taechu." What a joke. This time, the crowd was alert. They observed in advance, but they saw that no one spoke. They did not know where the voice came from. Wei Feilong's old face flushed red. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. "Who's talking? Come out and fight with me." Many people in the crowd rolled up their sleeves. The sound of rustling could be heard. Cold light flashed. Those who had weapons pulled out their long swords and scolded. "Li Jinwei, are you the one who did this? Let's fight." Some people thought that it was Li Jinwei and Qiu Gong's trick. They almost started a fight. Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan stood up and waved their hands to stop them. But they only heard the noise of the crowd. The scene became even more chaotic. At this moment, the guard Li Yang hurried in and whispered something in Zhao Yuankuan's ear. Zhao Yuankuan heard this and his face changed. He asked Li Yang and pointed outside. Then, he whispered something in Wei Feilong's ear. Wei Feilong heard this and his face also changed. He said something to Hung Junshan who was beside him. The latter was also shocked. Just like that, 1 spread to 2, 2 spread to 4, 4 spread to 8. In just a few seconds, the hall was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. This was because everyone heard one sentence, "Kang Taechu is the banker." Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan whispered to each other for a while. In the end, the fear on Zhao Yuankuan's face gradually faded. He said slowly, "Don't alert him yet. Let him stay and serve him well." "Yes." Li Yang turned around and left. The hearts of all the heroes present were thumping wildly, as if they were beating drums. They thought that if over 100 internal force users and a few transcendent masters attacked Jiang Tian at the same time, they might be able to cut him into pieces. However, Jiang Tian was too famous. After his rise, he killed Fu Biao, Xing Shanhu of the Great Circle, and also the Grand Master Hong Tianzhao of the Yi province on Mount Garuda. He defeated the Shinnong sect, and killed the 2 heroes of Lingnan, Mo Haoxiong and Wei Shuofeng. He dominated Lingnan and was named by Yi Zhantian as one of the top 20 young grandmasters. Even if there was only one of these valiant achievements, it was enough for a martial artist to look down on the world, dominate a region, and show off for a lifetime. What's more, Jiang Tian had killed so many powerful martial artists in less than half a year. Who wouldn't be scared? Moreover, Jiang Tian had come alone. No one knew what kind of scheme he had or what he was relying on. This caused everyone's hair to stand on end. For a moment, no one could come up with a plan. Suddenly, a disciple walked up to Wei Feilong and said something. Wei Feilong's face lit up. He stood up and exclaimed, "He's here." That disciple also nodded with a face full of joy, and then leaned over to whisper a few words into his ear. Wei Feilong sat down again. It seemed that he had gained a lot of support. His face was unprecedentedly stern, completely different from his usual amiable self. His eyes also became serious as he glanced at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, don't worry. If Jiang Tian doesn't listen to our advice, we won't let him do whatever he wants. We will work together to suppress him." Everyone knew that this person was cowardly. He was good at defending his achievements but not creative enough. He had always been a smooth talker, but they didn't know why his attitude changed so quickly and completely. Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, Wei Feilong suddenly said in a deep voice, "The big shot of the Central Plains, the veteran Grandmaster Hu Qingtian, is also attending the Martial Arts Alliance's gathering. He said that he will uphold justice for everyone. Old Master Hua is here. If Old Master Hua is here, Kang Taechu won't dare to act rashly no matter how powerful he is. Great, now that Old Master Hua is here, I'd like to see how long Master Kang can run rampant." Humph, so what if he's a grandmaster? He's still a far cry from a veteran grandmaster like Hu Qingtian. He's just a small fry. Yeah, Kang Taechu is so young. He's only at the initial level of the transcendent state. I'm afraid it's all due to luck that he can force his way through. How can he compare with Old Master Hua? That's right. Old Master Hua is the third most powerful grandmaster on the divine roll, second only to Yi Zhantian. No matter who they are, Kang Taechu is, they'll all have to kneel before him. When everyone heard this, their hearts were set at ease, and they were unable to contain their joy, causing their spirits to rise. The crowd was in an uproar as they discussed among themselves. It was as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Sigh, now that Old Master Hua is here to uphold justice, there's finally hope for our blood feud. Heaven has eyes. Heaven has eyes. Like Hung Junshan and his granddaughter, Zhang Wendao and his daughter, the Tang sect, and the Mo family of Lingnan, those who had once been crushed by Jiang Tian were even more excited. Some of them even shed tears of excitement. No wonder they had such a reaction. Hu Qingtian was a veteran grandmaster who had made his name even earlier than Yi Zhantian. He had already reached the peak of the transcendent state and had been famous in Huaxia for decades. Although Yi Zhantian had made a name for himself in one battle 20 years ago and had taken control of the dragon group, Hu Qingtian's reputation was no less than his. Years ago, he had sparred with Yi Zhantian on the Tianzhu mountain of the Central Plains. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights and ended in a draw. Later, Yi Zhantian created the divine list and Hu Qingtian was ranked third on the list. He was more powerful than Li Tuofeng, Su Zhe, and Yi Wudao in the northwest. Yi Zhantian called him, the most powerful man in Huaxia who has mastered all kinds of martial arts. He is the most powerful man in the world who has the potential to reach the immortal state in his lifetime. Hong Tianzhao, Mo Haoxiong, and the others were far weaker than him. Hu Qingtian and Yi Zhantian were good friends despite the difference in age. Hu Qingtian alone dominated the entire Central Plains and stood on both sides of the Yellow River. Many industries in Yu Province, Ji Province, Shan Province, Insignia Province, and several other provinces in the middle and lower reaches of the Yellow River were controlled by the Hua family alone. Wei Feilong's confidence was boosted when he heard that Old Man Hua was coming. He scanned the crowd and gestured for them to quiet down. Then he said with a smile, "Everyone, this old man thinks we should persuade and educate Kang Taechu. Although this man is crazy and bloodthirsty, he is indeed a genius in martial arts." Many of the people present nodded in agreement. Jiang Tian was the most powerful man in Huaxia who had reached the transcendent state before the age of 30. Although the crowd did not like Jiang Tian's arrogant personality, they had no choice but to admit that his strength and talent were outstanding. Zhao Yuankuan nodded and said, "If he comes to his senses and can lower his head and admit defeat, we might as well let him live." "Yes, Sect Master Wei, you are a wise man. We are no match for you," a martial artist said with a smile. Suddenly, a wave of flattery came from the crowd. Chapter 179. Everyone, you're being too polite. Wei Failong shook his head and smiled bitterly. This old man was born slow-witted. His talent in martial arts is only average. Back then, he was enlightened by Brother Yi Zhantian many times before he stepped into the transcendent realm at the age of 60. Just as everyone was about to compliment him, he waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Because of this old man also knows that the cultivation of martial arts is not easy. It's even more difficult to produce a grandmaster. Therefore, since the day this old man became the president, he has always adhered to one principle, to convince people with virtue and harmony. The martial arts of the world are one family." "That's right. Old man Wei is really kind. We admire you very much. If that Kong Teichu of Jiangbei suddenly comes to his senses and turns over a new leaf, we will spare his life. However, if he doesn't know when to back down and insists on doing things his own way, becoming an enemy of the martial arts of the world, there's no need for us to be polite either." "That's right. We have the advantage in numbers. Each of us can give him a slap. May I ask if Kong Teichu is made of iron? Can he withstand it?" "That's right. Now that all the heroes of the world have gathered here and there is a peerless expert like Huqing Tian holding the fort, even if he is Master Kong or Master Garlic, he can only kneel and beg for mercy." Although the Hong clan of Yi province, Mo clan of Lingnan, Tang sect of Central Shu, Golden Saber Wang clan of Luoyang, and Five Tiger sect Breaking Saber Technique were dissatisfied with this decision and wanted to directly kill Jiang Tian, they knew that Wei Failong was a void-pierce stage expert and was unwilling to stir up a dispute. Therefore, they could only grit their teeth and give up. With the arrival of Huqing Tian, the situation took a turn for the worse. The gloominess that shrouded everyone's heart was swept away. For a moment, everyone was full of confidence. They talked and laughed loudly as if everything was under their control. "Brother Zhao, I'm afraid that we will have to trouble you to invite that Master Kong to join the banquet tonight. This will also show our sincerity." Wei Failong looked at Zhao Yuankuan and chuckled. As Heng Tianzhao's sworn brother, Zhao Yuankuan also wanted to kill Jiang Tian, but he was also a scheming person. Before he saw Jiang Tian's strength with his own eyes, he didn't want to pick a fight. So he stood up, cupped his fists, and said with a smile, "Hee, I still have to do my part as a host. Let's try peaceful means before resorting to force. I'll go invite him now, this house is enough for more than 10 people to live in. Also, this scenery is much better than our blue villa." After they entered the courtyard, Tang Bao looked around and exclaimed incessantly with admiration. She felt like her eyes weren't enough to take in everything. The bamboo forest, the pond, the withered lotus, the withered plum blossom, the rockery. Every single one of them was like a landscape painting that was ingenious and full of interest. She grabbed Jiang Tian and pressed her full breasts against Jiang Tian's arm. She smiled and said, "Brother Jiang Tian, what is your background? Why did they give you such a large house to live in? Who's your brother? Stay away from me." Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her and directly shook her off. He walked into the largest guest room and video called Qing'er to tell her that he was safe. "This kid has such a temper. You relied on your family's protection to get in here. What's so great about you?" Tang Bao had been pursued by many men since she was young, so she had never received such cold treatment. She couldn't help but feel angry and aggrieved. She pouted and stomped her foot while sparkling and translucent tears flickered in her beautiful eyes. Yifeng patted her on the shoulder and said softly with a gloomy expression, "I'll help you vent your anger after I change my clothes." Brother Yifeng is the best. Tang Bao instantly had a good impression of him, and she clapped her hands and smiled. Lin Monong frowned and said, Yifeng, you can't be unreasonable. No matter what, Jiang Tian helped you today. Don't worry, Sister Monong. I just want to seek guidance from an expert. Yifeng revealed a charming smile as his gaze swept over Lin Monong's curvaceous body greedily. Although Bao was known as the #1 breast in the Blue Villa, Sister Monong's was actually the biggest. It was estimated to be 32 f. However, Sister Monong was tall, while Bao was shorter, so her breasts were bigger. Lin Monong was so disgusted that she wanted to vomit when she saw Yifeng looking at her chest with a sinister expression. She rolled her eyes and said, What are you looking at? Why are your eyes so dishonest? Lin Monong rolled her eyes in disgust, but to the self-proclaimed flirtatious Yifeng, it was a flirtatious look. He smiled evilly and said, I'm looking at your chest. You, Lin Monong was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe it and was almost disgusted to death. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? Hee. Yifeng laughed and shook his head. He had to go into his room to change his clothes. However, he didn't know that there was someone outside the courtyard looking in through the fence. He sneered in his heart. This brat dares to flirt with young Master Lei's woman. How dare he? Humph. He turned around and left, hurriedly rushing to a courtyard that was on the same scale as Listen to Feng Shui rhyme. He walked into a large room and said to a young man dressed in martial arts attire, reporting to young Master Lei, We've already found Lin Monong's whereabouts. Oh. Where is she? Lei Gang nodded, a sinister look flashing across his eyes. Lin Monong had already agreed to marry him, but she had suddenly run away. He chased her all the way and only found out that she had lost her sports car after checking the CCTV at the gas station. He followed the car plate number and checked the CCTV all the way here. That follower hurriedly reported. After hearing this, Lei Gang stood up and smiled proudly. Ha, Lin Monong, do you think you can escape from me? Zhao Yuankuan is my uncle, and Zhao Hao is my cousin. This water manor is my home turf. You're walking right into my trap. Young Master Lei, that bodyguard of Meng Yao's called Yifeng. He doesn't know what's good for him. The follower led him to Jiang Tian's villa, not forgetting to report on Jiang Tian's flirting with Lin Monong. Bodyguards these days are all ridiculous. They have no professional ethics at all, thinking that flirting with their employer's miss is the right thing to do. Lei Gang's eyes flashed with murderous intent. I'll break his fucking legs later. Jiang Tian went to the bathroom to wash off the dust on his body and changed into clean clothes. He saw that it was getting late, and decided to go to the restaurant for dinner. According to guard Li Yang, he could also ask someone to send food and vegetables over. However, Jiang Tian still wanted to meet the various martial artists and ask about the whereabouts of the D-daughter flower. He had just stepped out of the door when he saw Yifeng in a black suit, a cold expression on his face. Yifeng, don't be like this. Meng Yao and Lin Monong, on the other hand, were begging him for something. Tang Bao, on the other hand, was looking at Jiang Tian coldly, a teasing smile on her lips. Jiang Tian, do you dare fight me? Yifeng turned a deaf ear to Lin Monong and Meng Yao's words as he stared expressionlessly at Jiang Tian with his hands in his pockets. Get lost. You're just a guard dog, you don't have the right to make me fight. Jiang Tian scolded, his face cold. He was annoyed to death. What kind of monsters were these? He wouldn't have brought them in if he'd known. Those words hit Yifeng's sore spot. He might have been an ace assassin, but on the surface, he was the Mrs. Bodyguard. Those rich young masters always used that to mock him. However, he'd secretly gotten rid of all those young masters who'd mocked him. Not a single one of them had survived. Yifeng's eyes turned darker and darker as a mocking smile appeared on his lips. I think you don't have the guts. Ha, you really are a useless piece of trash. I'll kill you with one slap if you keep talking. Jiang Tian raised an eyebrow, his tone calm. This guy had a bloodthirsty aura, but his cultivation was trash. One look and you could tell that he was one of those assassins or mercenaries who harmed the common world. Someone like this might be able to strut around in front of normal people, but to Jiang Tian, he was nothing more than an ant or a fly. He'd kill him if he dared to make any more noise. Lin Monong couldn't stand it anymore. He scolded angrily. Yi Feng, show some respect. If it wasn't for Jiang Tian stopping you, you'd be dead by now. Lei Gang suddenly came in with a few companions. He looked at Lin Monong and chuckled. Monong, you're here too. What a coincidence. Why are you here too? Lin Monong's eyes were filled with fear and panic. He didn't expect Lei Gang to chase after him. Big bro Lei Gang, you're here. Tang Bao saw that Jiang Tian was only arguing with Yi Feng and didn't dare to make a move. She pulled Lei Gang's arm with a smile and pointed at Jiang Tian. This is Jiang Tian, young Master Jiang of House Jiang in Jinling. He's currently in a relationship with Big Sis Monong. She even winked at Jiang Tian and Lin Monong playfully. Sigh, it's the same old trick. Meng Yao shook her head helplessly. Tang Bao always liked to do this. She would use others as shields, and then she would turn two groups of people into love rivals who would fight each other until their heads bled. However, these fools who were used as shields seemed to be willing to endure the hardship. Perhaps this was the privilege of a beautiful woman. Lin Monong panicked and stomped his foot. Bao, what are you talking about? You'll get Jiang Tian killed. Jiang Tian was disgusted with Tang Bao, She was exactly the same as Han Yen, he met on the way to Shenong school. Oh, you're Miss Lin's boyfriend? When Lei Gang heard this, he half believed and half doubted. He looked at Jiang Tian with a gloomy gaze, his killing intent faintly visible. He was also from Jinling, born in House Lei of the martial arts world. Although there was only one practitioner in the house, martial arts wasn't very popular in Jinling. House Lei opened a few dojos and had good relations with many rich people. They had quite a bit of power. Naturally, he wouldn't care about Jiang Tian, the abandoned son of House Jiang. Although Jiang Tian didn't care about Lei Gang, he didn't want to be taken advantage of. He smiled faintly. She's just spouting nonsense. I'm Miss Lin's friend, but we're not in a relationship. Lei Gang was so angry that his face turned green. He threw Tang Bao, to the side and yelled. Bitch, can't you be more reliable with that mouth of yours? You're always spouting shit. Tang Bao, was pushed to the point she fell to the ground, and she was in an extremely embarrassing and sorry state. Her pretty face instantly flushed red, and she felt very frustrated. This guy didn't even want to take the hit. That wasn't how it was written in novels. Meng Yao looked down on Jiang Tian when she saw that he wasn't willing to be a shield. A man like this has no sense of responsibility. He doesn't even have the courage to take on Lei Gang. Coward. Yi Feng smiled in disdain and shook his head in disappointment. You really are a useless piece of trash. Coward and useless. Ha, I'm useless. Then do you dare to hit on Lin Monong? Jiang Tian smiled. Who would want to be a shield? He wasn't going to be taken advantage of. Why wouldn't I dare? Isn't it a trend for bodyguards to hit on female employers? Yi Feng didn't want to take on Lei Gang, but he straightened his neck and said proudly. Chapter 180. You want to die? Don't you know that Lin Monong is my woman? How dare a piece of trash like you blaspheme her? Lei Gang strode towards Yi Feng, his knuckles cracking as he grinned, kneel and kowtow to me. Yi Feng was still holding back his anger after getting beaten up by Li Yang. Now that Lei Gang was being so rude to him, how could he hold it in? Ha, you want me to kneel? Do you know how strong I am? His handsome face darkened as he appeared in front of Lei Gang like a flash of lightning. He raised his hand and sent a chop towards Lei Gang's neck. He used all his strength in this chop. The wind howled and the air exploded, forming a series of afterimages. The damage was shocking. If it landed on a normal person, they would have fainted, if not died on the spot. Wow! Yi Feng is so handsome. Tang Bao's face was filled with admiration and adoration. She held her heart with her hands, her eyes filled with love. Ah, Yi Feng, you're hitting people again. Meng Yao pouted helplessly, but her eyes were filled with love and adoration. In their eyes, Yi Feng was a peerless master from the depths of the mountains. He would definitely defeat Lei Gang. However, they underestimated Lei Gang's background and the strength of a fighter. They didn't even see how Lei Gang moved. With a muffled bang, Yi Feng was sent flying more than 3 meters away and fell into the pond, splashing water everywhere. Lei Gang slowly lowered his right leg and snorted in disdain, "Ant, you can't even take a hit." Huh? Yi Feng got sent flying again. He's a flying man now. Meng Yao and Tang Bao almost fainted. Their expressions changed to one of disbelief. How did Yi Feng, who was invincible in Jinling, get humiliated in Poyang manner? How did he get humiliated everywhere? Yi Feng's head was kicked by Lei Gang. He felt his head buzzing and saw stars. He drank a few mouthfuls of dirty water before crawling out of the pond. If I wasn't injured just now, you wouldn't be my opponent. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He could only say this stubbornly. This fighter was too strong. Why was he always meeting strong fighters? Every time he failed to show off, it became a slap in the face. It was too pitiful. Lei Gang didn't bother to look at him. He looked at Lin Meng calmly. "Miss Lin, why don't you accompany me for a chat?" Lin Meng's face paled at Lei Gang's strength. Her eyes filled with tears as her body trembled. "Of course. You don't want to go? Then I have no choice but to invite you." It was as if Lei Gang was looking at a little white rabbit that was struggling on its deathbed. He was like a ferocious tiger that was choosing its prey to devour. "Of course, Miss Lin." Lei Gang's companions stepped forward one after another. "If you don't cooperate, we'll take you away by force." Lin Meng's Lin of S of Lin of her. Once he went over, it would be tantamount to falling into the tiger's mouth, with no chance of escaping. However, Lei Gang was so powerful, what could he do? "Alright, I'll go with you." Just as she was about to walk toward Lei Gang, Jiang Tian said calmly, "Miss Lin, what's going on?" "Sigh, my dad gambled in his family's casino and lost more than 10 million. My family can't afford to pay him back." Lin Meng sighed as tears rolled down her cheeks. When Jiang Tian heard half of it, he understood. It was just a cliché story of a girl having a good-for-nothing gambling father who owed the thug a huge sum of money and couldn't pay it back. The thug wanted the girl to pay the debt with her body, forcing her to marry him. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he smiled faintly and said, "Lei Gang, I helped teacher Lin return the 10 million. Can you let her go?" Jiang Tian and Lin Meng got along very well. She had given him a lot of pointers and help in university. Moreover, Jiang Tian realized that she was quite knowledgeable in Chinese medicine. After all, she was a postdoc at Huaxia Pharmaceutical University, so her standards weren't bad. Jiang Tian had recently come up with a few prescriptions and wanted to set up a research lab. Lin Meng was one of the candidates he had in mind. Seeing that she was in trouble, he naturally wouldn't sit idly by. But Lei Gang wanted Lin Monong's men, so how could he agree? He immediately smiled sinisterly. He sneered, "Jiang Tian, how much money do you have? You want to meddle in other people's business? Can you afford 10 million? Don't meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, I'll slap you to death. Lei Gang, I've already given you enough face. Don't be reckless." Jiang Tian smiled faintly, but his tone gradually turned cold as he said coldly, "I'll take care of this matter to the end." This gambling debt is nullified. Get the hell out of here. If you dare to harass Teacher Lin again, I'll skin you alive. Jiang Tian, you. Hearing this, Lin Meng looked at Jiang Tian in shock. Her face was filled with disbelief. She didn't expect Jiang Tian to take on Lei Gang head-on and be so strong. It didn't matter if Jiang Tian had the strength or not. Just his courage alone was enough to move her. Most importantly, from the beginning to the end, Jiang Tian had always called her Teacher Lin. He was very respectful to women and gave her a fresh and pleasant feeling. How could this be compared to the hooligan Yifeng? He's really an idiot. How dare he challenge Lei Gang? Can't he see how strong Lei Gang is? Yeah, even Jiang Tian was sent flying by him. Jiang Tian is always failing sports in school. How can he be a match for Lei Gang? He'll probably be beaten to death. But in Meng Yao and Tang Bao's eyes, Jiang Tian didn't know what was good for him. They couldn't help but mock him with disdain. This Lei Gang must be in the middle stage of iron body. He can shatter a giant rock with one kick. Jiang Tian is just a useless young master. How can he be a match for him? But, this is good. If he gets beaten up even more, wouldn't he look better? Seeing this, Yifeng was gloating in his heart. He was waiting for Jiang Tian to make a fool of himself. Hearing Jiang Tian's words, Lei Gang was so angry that he wanted to die. He sneered, Jiang Tian, you're so arrogant. How dare you threaten me? Who do you think you are? You're just a piece of trash. Old ghost, beat him up. Jiang Tian pointed at Lei Gang and said indifferently. Yes, master. Before Ghost Kick could finish his words, he was already blown out like a gust of wind. His foot landed on Lei Gang's face. Logically speaking, Lei Gang was also an expert among the younger generation of martial artists, but he was still too far away from the Ghost Kick. Caught off guard, he was actually kicked to the point where he staggered backwards, his head spinning. Several teeth flew out from his mouth, and there were even wisps of blood. It was a ghastly sight. The phantom kick was followed by a kick to his chest. The latter flew into the air and crashed into the rockery like a kite with a broken string. Then, he slid down to the ground like a pile of mud. Blood kept spurting out of his mouth, making him look extremely miserable and battered. Bastard, with your strength, this old man can kill you with one kick. If it weren't for my master's kindness, you'd be dead by now. Ghost Kick's eyes were cold as he said in a low voice. How is this old man so strong? It's like an action movie. Jiang Tian's follower is actually an expert. Seeing this, Meng Yao and Tang Bao's mouths were wide open in disbelief. Ghost Kick's 12 kicks were too beautiful. They were dazzled and their hearts were in a daze. Lin Monong couldn't believe it either. He was dumbfounded. You dare to behave so atrociously in Poyang manner? Don't you know that this is House Xiao's territory? Kid, you're in trouble now. Zhao Yuankun is Lei Gang's uncle. You'll have to bear the consequences this time. Lei Gang's companions were actually not martial artists. When they saw the ferocious Ghost Kick, they were so scared that their faces turned pale. They retreated while threatening Lei Gang. After a few threats, they retreated 5 or 6 steps. Call Master Zhao now. However, they weren't lying. Someone had already taken out his phone and called Zhao Yuankun's son, Zhao Hao, over. This Jiang Tian really doesn't know what's good for him. He hit him so hard. Now, no one can save him. Yifeng finally understood the relationship between Lei Gang and Zhao Hao. He couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Although he was scared, he didn't forget to mock Jiang Tian. Yifeng, who's Zhao Hao? Lin Monong asked. Oh, I see. Although Yifeng hadn't really stepped into the martial arts world, he had heard so much about Zhao Hao that he was sick of hearing about him. It could be said that in the entire martial arts world, Zhao Hao was considered an outstanding figure among the younger generation. He was astonishingly talented. He had reached the cultivation of advanced inner force before the age of 30. He was known as a young martial arts master. Moreover, Zhao Hao was ruthless and arrogant. He had challenged martial arts masters all over Huaxia, killing and injuring dozens of famous martial arts masters. He had built a fierce reputation for himself. Some busybodies called him Sun Sky, Sun Earth, and Sun Air. He wasn't afraid of ghosts and was extremely bold. Therefore, he had an unpleasant nickname, Zhao Ritian. At this time, he was secretly glad that he had been defeated by Lei Gang. If he had beaten Lei Gang and Zhao Ritian came for revenge, he would have been skinned alive. He only has a master under him and some power in his family. How would he dare to fight Zhao Hao? Yifeng glanced at Jiang Tian in disdain. His eyes were so wide that they could fly out of his eye sockets. It was as if Jiang Tian would run away in the next moment. Hearing Yifeng's words, Lin Monong couldn't help but worry. The tears that had just dried up fell again. He said in a trembling voice, Jiang Tian, let's go quickly. What if they catch us? How are we going to survive? Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian didn't move at all. His expression wouldn't change even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. He said calmly, it's just a small piece of trash. What's there to be afraid of? Since I'm going to meddle in your business, I'll do it until the end. Even God can't do anything to you. If he comes, I'll send him flying with a slap. Ha, brother, you're so arrogant. You want to send me flying? Do you have what it takes? In less than a few minutes, a tall and imposing figure walked in with majestic steps and said with a sinister smile. Although he came alone, he was at least 2 meters tall, like an NBA center. His bronze-colored muscles coiled around his body like a dragon, and there was a strong and domineering aura that suppressed the whole place. He was like a giant beast from ancient times, and his aura was shocking. Lin Monong, the 3 girls, and Yifeng all felt the immense pressure. They couldn't help but take a few steps back with fear on their faces. Cousin, help me vent my anger. This guy is too arrogant. He hit my face directly. Lei Gang struggled to crawl up, and like a loyal dog that had seen its master, he ran over to Zhao Hao and excitedly pointed at Zhao Hao and said, Cousin, hurry up and kill him for me. Chapter 181. Slap. Zhao Hao gave him a tight slap on the face, causing blood to spurt out from his nose. He scolded with a thunderous voice, useless thing. You don't work hard and only know how to flirt with girls, race, and fight. Now you're embarrassing me. This shout was like a thunderclap, like the roar of a vajra. It shook Yifeng so much that he almost vomited. Cousin, you're right. Lei Gang, who was domineering in Jinling, was beaten, but he bowed like a grandson and admitted his mistake with fear in his eyes. Stand aside. Today, I'll show you the power of a martial artist. Zhao Hao's eyes shot out a terrifying cold light. He walked towards Jiang Tian with big steps, and said with a hideous smile, Come, come, come. I'm Zhao Hao. I love fighting. Let's fight today. Let's see how you'll send me flying. Get lost. You're not qualified for me to fight. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Zhao Hao could be considered a martial arts prodigy. He was only in his 20s and had already reached the inner energy stage. However, he was still far from Jiang Tian's level. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to fight a martial artist of this level. Who are you? What gives you the right to be so arrogant? Zhao Hao frowned in disbelief. Tang Bao rolled her eyes and said, Brother Zhao Hao, his name is Jiang Tian. So he's the crown prince of Jinling's Jiang family. Jinling's Jiang family, what's that? A martial arts family? Zhao Hao asked with a frown. He wasn't willing to fight without knowing his opponent's background. You've heard of the Medicine King group, right? It belongs to the Jiang family. However, the Jiang family is no longer in power. Tang Bao explained. She was very clever. To put it bluntly, she was a fence-sitter. She was afraid of offending Zhao Hao when she saw how powerful he was, so she deliberately approached him. Even if Zhao Hao defeated Jiang Tian and dealt with everyone, she would be able to avoid being implicated. As a descendant of a martial arts clan, Zhao Hao looked down on ordinary clans. Halfway through, he directly interrupted and sneered, "Oh, a mere son of a pharmacy owner dares to call himself the crown prince. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Come, fight with me." Before he finished speaking, he stomped his feet on the ground, and the bluestone-paved ground cracked inch by inch. He's so strong. Is he still human? He's like Superman or Spider-Man. Meng Yao and Lin Monong paled at the sight, their mouths agape as they broke out in cold sweat. So strong. Big brother Yifeng, compared to him, you're too far apart. From now on, I'm going to change my idol. Tang Bao cheered heartlessly as she watched on with rapt attention. She'd already taken Zhao Hao to be her idol. Too powerful. As expected of a young martial Dao master, I was really a frog at the bottom of the well. Yifeng broke out in a cold sweat. His eyes were lifeless, and his heart was filled with dejection, loss, and even despair. He'd been in the assassin world for many years and had made a name for himself. He was originally extremely arrogant and full of himself, but after seeing Zhao Hao today, he realized that there was always someone better than him out there. Jiang Tian, be careful. Lin Monong cried out, so anxious that tears were flowing out. She was extremely grateful to Jiang Tian. She swore in her heart that if Jiang Tian was crippled by him, she would take care of Jiang Tian for the rest of his life. If Jiang Tian was beaten to death, then she would accompany him in death. Under everyone's shocked and fearful gazes, Zhao Hao had already leapt high into the air. His posture was violent, like a dragon or a tiger. Then, a straight fist shot out like a cannonball, exploding in the air. With boundless killing intent, it viciously smashed towards Jiang Tian's chest. You're so annoying. In response, Jiang Tian smiled lazily. He slowly raised his jade-white palm and lightly slapped it down as if he was swatting a fly. In the next moment, Zhao Hao was like a toad, lying on the ground with a thud. Blood spurted out of his mouth. His mouth was crooked, and his eyes were slanted. He didn't move at all. The entire place was silent. Dead silence. It was so silent that you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was stunned as they looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Shock was written all over their faces. How is this possible? Lei Gang was completely dumbfounded as he mumbled to himself. His cousin was a genius in his eyes. With a single punch, his inner strength would explode, and even a giant rock would be smashed into dust. Moreover, his physical body was strong, able to take on long swords and other cold weapons head-on. However, with just a casual tap from Jiang Tian, he was knocked down. It was as if the two had planned this prank beforehand. Jiang Tian can fight so well. Meng Yao and Tang Bao felt as if they were in a dream. They couldn't believe what had just happened. It was like a legend. What did he go through? How did he become so strong? Lin Monong looked at Jiang Tian's back. She was shocked but also felt an indescribable sense of security. It was as if Jiang Tian was a mountain that could shelter her from the wind and rain. She couldn't help but want to get closer and look up at him. Something big has happened. Quick, report to the master. Seeing this, many of the Zhao family's servants were frightened and panicked. They hurriedly rushed out of the door and ran towards the Hall of Brotherhood. Zhao Yuankuan left the Hall of Brotherhood and was walking towards Jiang Tian's courtyard when a few servants stumbled and crawled towards him. Seeing this, he stood there majestically, frowned, and said in a low voice, "Why are you all so flustered? Won't you become a joke to the world? You're disgracing us again." "Master, something bad has happened." Zhao Hao was beaten up by a kid called Jiang Tian until he vomited blood. The servants cried out in alarm, their faces deathly pale. What? Zhao Hao is injured. Zhao Yuankuan's face was filled with shock and disbelief. He knew the temperament of his son, who was nicknamed Zhao Ritian, very well. He was arrogant and domineering, wild and rough. He was like a barrel of explosives that would explode at the slightest provocation. Usually, he would cause trouble for him. However, Zhao Hao's cultivation was also very strong. Among the younger generation of martial artists, he was also an outstanding figure. He was as famous as Zhang Qitian. Usually, he was like a big crab, domineering and tyrannical. He was the one who broke the bones of others and caused them to vomit blood. When had he been injured by others? In the next moment, Zhao Yuankuan thought of another key question. Who is Jiang Tian? Where is he from? Which family is he from? In the martial world, Jiang Tian had always been famous as the beginning. As for the name Jiang Tian, he never revealed it himself. He made many people who knew about it keep it a secret in order to live a peaceful life in the secular world. Therefore, Zhao Yuankuan had heard the name Kang Teichu so many times that his ears were calloused. However, he felt that the name Jiang Tian was very unfamiliar to him. He's from Jiangbei. I think he's from Jinling. He has the ghost kick and lives in the courtyard of listening to Feng Shui Yun. He's so strong. With one slap, young Master Zhao Hao fell down and vomited blood. The servants were all scrambling to report what they knew. It's Kang Teichu. Zhao Yuankuan's face turned cold. He felt extremely uneasy. Why was his son so blind to fight with Master Kang? This was a young master. If he attacked, how could Zhao Hao be in a good situation? Thinking of this, he quickened his pace. With a single step, he crossed a distance of 5 or 6 meters and quickly rushed to the courtyard where Jiang Tian was. Mengyao, you're here too. What did you say just now? Was there a fight? Over at Feng Shui Yun's side, a noble young man, surrounded by several attendants, quickly walked over. His name was Xia Miao, Mengyao's boyfriend. House Xia was one of the top 20 in Jinling. His family was in the stock market, and more than half of the stock market in Jinling were owned by his family. Their assets were in the billions. Jiang Tian's handsome face darkened when he saw him. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Xia Miao was studying in the finance department of Jinling University, which was right next to Jiang Tian's. However, he was an excellent student, and often received national scholarships. It was said that when he was still in his second year, he and a few friends in the finance and computer department came up with a mathematical model for stock trading. They were very accurate in picking stocks, and their predictions were flawless. With the 10 million starting capital given by his father, they made hundreds of millions in the stock market. At the time, Jiang Tian was also pursuing Meng Yao, and Xia Miao got people to beat him up. He also humiliated Jiang Tian, saying that Jiang Tian was a toad who wanted to eat swan meat, and that he should take a piss and look at himself in the mirror. In actuality, House Jiang was doing pretty well at the time, and as the eldest son of Yaowang Group, Jiang Tian naturally couldn't take it lying down. He took his revenge. However, after a few exchanges, Jiang Tian was always at a disadvantage. Xia Miao was too outstanding, and his friends were all rich and powerful. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, only knew a couple of rich young masters. They were no match for Xia Miao. In the end, his mother found out about the conflict between Jiang Tian and Xia Miao. She tried to persuade Jiang Tian to give up on his hopeless plan. Jiang Tian still remembered how Xia Miao had participated in the Three Houses takeover of Yaowang Group in his past life, causing Yaowang Group and Chen Jinming to suffer a crushing defeat. After they got the shares, Xia Miao rushed to his old classmate Chen Jinming's trading room like a general who had won a great victory. He flaunted his strength and scolded Jiang Tian and the others for being a bunch of trash. Chen Jinming, who had been working for half a month without sleep, was so angry that he had a heart attack on the spot and almost died. It's Jiang Tian who beat someone up, Meng Yao panicked as she ran to Lin Yi's side, hugging his arm. And he's Lei Gang's cousin, Mr. Zhao Hao. What are we going to do about this? What? That's Zhao Hao. Zhao Hao's face was covered in blood, and Xia Miao didn't get a good look at him. Xia Miao took a closer look at Zhao Hao, who was sitting under the fake mountain. Xia Miao had been here for 2 days now, and he had interacted with Zhao Hao. He knew how terrifying House Xiao's power was. He was one of the top young masters in Jinling, on the same level as House Chen, House Chen, House Sun, House Chen, House Chen, House Chen, House Sun, and the others. But after seeing Zhao Hao's power, he finally understood what it meant to have supernatural power, what it meant to have the highest authority, and what it meant to be part of the upper class. Even people with assets in the tens of billions, people who often appeared on the rich list, had to be respectful when they saw a junior like Zhao Hao. 2 days ago, there was a young master whose family was in the iron business, with assets in the tens of billions, who accidentally bumped into Zhao Hao at a banquet. Zhao Hao broke his legs and threw him out the door. That young master's parents didn't even dare fart, apologizing profusely and almost kowtowing to Zhao Hao. This kid, he's a troublemaker. Not only did he cause trouble in Jinling, he's even brought it to Gan province. He doesn't know what's good for him. The next moment, anger rose from his heart as he gritted his teeth. Chapter 182. Over the past few days, he had noticed that most martial artists were hot-tempered and merciless. They would seek revenge for the smallest grievance and should never be offended. Jiang Tian was also from Jinling like them. If Zhao Yuankuan and Zhao Hao were angered, even they would be affected. Being kicked out of the Martial Arts Alliance Grand Assembly would be a light punishment. They might even have their limbs broken. He strode towards Jiang Tian, raised his finger and pointed at him, his face full of disdain as he said, "You brat, you've got guts. How dare you beat up Zhao Hao? Are you tired of living? What does it have to do with you? Are you his dog?" Jiang Tian's face was calm as he said with a faint smile. "In my previous life, you suppressed me in every way and defeated the Jiang family. At that time, I had nothing and could only watch the tragedy unfold. But in this life, I, Kang Te-chu, have returned after 10,000 years of cultivation. I'm as powerful as a god and a saint. I can kill you as easily as taking something out of my pocket. Why should I be polite to you?" Xia Miao didn't expect that Jiang Tian would dare refute her, and she was suddenly stunned. When she recalled the meaning of Jiang Tian's words, she was instantly angered to the point her face flushed red and pale, and she almost fainted. "Jiang Tian, are you crazy? How dare you talk to me like that? Do you believe that I won't kill you and destroy your Medicine King group?" Xia Miao suppressed his anger. His eyes were gloomy. This threat was full of confidence. Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold and a hint of surprise flashed across his face. "I've already killed Chen Bo and Sun Hao, the 2 vanguard generals, but it seems that the 3 families haven't collapsed yet. Their strategy against the Jiang family is still advancing steadily." Otherwise, Xia Miao wouldn't have said that. It seemed that there really was a transcendent power behind the forces of Jinling that was providing them with powerful support. Seeing Jiang Tian frowning in deep thought, Xia Miao thought that he had subdued Jiang Tian and couldn't help but feel even more proud. With a frivolous expression, he said, "Jiang Tian, now you know fear, right? Hurry up and kneel down before Zhao Hao and beg for his forgiveness." Otherwise, the other young lords from Jinling City also pointed at Jiang Tian and said arrogantly, "What the hell? All of you, shut up." At this moment, with a sudden shout, a tall middle-aged man walked in quickly. Xia Miao turned around to look, and he couldn't help but be horrified. After that, he was like a loyal dog that had seen its master, and he ran over while pointing at Jiang Tian as he said with righteous indignation, "Uncle Zhao, this kid hit big brother Zhao Hao, and I was just reprimanding him. He's simply crazy and doesn't know what's good for him." Then, with a fawning expression, he bowed and said with a smile, "Uncle Zhao, please understand. This kid has always been an ignorant and incompetent idiot in Jinling. We are all annoyed by him. The matter of him beating people has nothing to do with us, so he's Xiao Yuankuan. What a wise man. He's got an extraordinary presence." Meng Yao, Tang Bao, Yi Feng, and all the other tycoons looked at Zhao Yuankuan with eyes full of admiration. They very consciously stepped back and opened up a path for him, as if they were looking at a god. Zhao Yuankuan was the tycoon of Gan province, and Qinkuan Group was involved in the hotel, real estate, mining, and many other industries. Their net worth was in the tens of billions, and while they weren't the richest in Gan province, they were at least in the top 3. A family with such wealth was something that small families like theirs couldn't compare to. Moreover, they were a martial arts family, with many talents and masters. They had supernatural strength, like dragons flying in the sky. That was something they couldn't compare to. So this is Master Kong of Jiangbei. I didn't think he'd be so young. Zhao Yuankuan stared at Jiang Tian, stunned. Xia Miao's words didn't reach his ears at all. He knew that Jiang Tian was very young, but now that he'd seen Jiang Tian in person, he realized that Jiang Tian was even younger than he'd imagined. His skin was white, and his face was handsome. He looked like a young man. However, it was such a young man who looked less than 20 years old who had conquered half of Huaxia and dominated Lingnan in just half a year with an incomparably strong and almost invincible attitude, causing the martial artists in the world to fear him. This is going to be a big scene. I'm afraid that Jiang Tian won't have a chance to live even if he kneels down and begs for mercy. Serves him right. What an arrogant bastard. Is this a place where he can do as he pleases? Does he think this is his house Zhang's backyard? Meng Yao, Tang Bao, Yi Feng, and the others saw Zhao Yuankuan staring at Jiang Tian. They were all gloating. This kid really doesn't know what's good for him. How dare he hit young Master Zhao Hao? He's dead for sure this time. This was Zhao Yuankuan, a tyrant of an entire province. Even those feudal officials with assets in the tens of billions had to show him some respect. No matter how good Jiang Tian was at fighting, it was useless. How could he not admit defeat? Only Lin Monong was worried. Her eyes were red as she explained, "House Xiao, please don't be angry. There's a reason for this. Lei Gang wanted to force me, and Jiang Tian decided to uphold justice for me." "Shut up, Monong." Xia Miao shouted sternly in a deep voice. In his heart, he thought, why is this girl so blind? Then he pointed at Jiang Tian and said, "Brat, you're still not kneeling after seeing Patriarch Xiao. You've really eaten a bear's heart and leopard's gall. Trash, do you have the right to speak here?" Zhao Yuankuan's angry roar rang out. Slap. Suddenly, a crisp slap resounded throughout the entire arena. Everyone only saw a figure fly out like a rag doll. At this moment, they thought it was Zhao Yuankuan who had attacked Jiang Tian. Lin Monong even cried out and closed her eyes in fear, not daring to see the miserable scene that followed. But when they looked carefully, they saw that the person on the ground wasn't Jiang Tian, but Xia Miao. Half of Xia Miao's face was swollen like a pig's head and purplish red like an eggplant. Blood with a few broken teeth flowed out of his mouth, and he was in a semi-conscious state. At this moment, everyone felt like they had fallen into a dream. They were all stunned and completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Shouldn't Zhao Yuankuan crush Jiang Tian to vent his anger for his son? Why did he attack Xia Miao? But what was even more shocking was yet to come. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Zhao Yuankuan respectfully cupped his fists, lowered his arrogant head, and said respectfully, "I'm Zhao Yuankuan from northern Hubei. Greetings to Master Kong. Please forgive my son's offense." At this moment, everyone present only felt an electric current spreading from their spines to their limbs all the way to the top of their heads. The feeling of numbness exploded from the center of their heads. Accompanied by the magnificent and blooming sunset, densely packed ripples spread from the top of their heads to the surroundings. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with disbelief, and their hearts were filled with confusion. This was Zhao Yuankuan, a powerful existence. How could he be so respectful to Jiang Tian? Bao, am I dreaming? Please pinch me. Chu Mengyao's beautiful eyes were round as she muttered in a daze. Just who is he? Why does Zhao Yuankuan seem to be so respectful to him? Tang Bao's full chest heaved up and down violently, creating dazzling white waves. She was so shocked that she didn't even hear Yao Yao's words. What Master Kong? He's so famous that even the great Zhao Yuankuan has to lower his head to him. Yi Feng, who loved to peek, even forgot to look at Tang Bao's exquisite breasts. His eyes were round as he stared at the shocking scene in front of him in disbelief. So it's him. He's Master Kong. But I actually went to provoke him. Only Zhao Hao suddenly came to a realization. He was so shocked that his face was as white as paper, and he shrank back like a quail. Just now, he had a brush with death. Ha, Brother Zhao, you're too polite. I didn't know Sir Zhao's identity, so I was a little heavy-handed. Please forgive me. Jiang Tian cupped his fists and returned the greeting. His eyes narrowed as he sighed in his heart. This Zhao Yuankuan was a formidable figure. His son was beaten so badly, but he could still maintain his composure. A guardian had already gone to check on Zhao Hao's injuries. Fortunately, his meridians and Sea of Qi were not damaged. He would recover after a few days of rest. Well said, well said. Zhao Yuankuan smiled apologetically as he cupped his fists and said, My son has always been arrogant and willful, which raised his arrogant and despotic personality. It's good that Grandmaster Jiang taught him a lesson. I still have to thank Grandmaster Jiang. Everyone was dumbfounded. Zhao Hao had been beaten so badly, but not only was Zhao Yuankuan not angry, he was even thanking Jiang Tian. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have dared to imagine it. All of this seemed like the biggest joke in the world. What did you say just now? You want to kill me and destroy the Medicine King group? Jiang Tian had his hands behind his back as he walked over to Xia Miao as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Jiang, Master Kong, I was wrong. Please spare my life. Xia Miao was terrified as he knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Jiang Tian was smiling, but in Xia Miao's eyes, it was as if a demon king from hell was staring at him, making him feel a trace of the aura of death. Although he didn't know Jiang Tian's identity, he knew that Jiang Tian was someone he couldn't afford to offend when he saw how respectful Zhao Yuankuan was to Jiang Tian. Killing him would be as easy as taking something out of his pocket. Sure enough, Zhao Yuankuan gave a laugh and said casually, Master Jiang, this blind trash, just directly kill him. Jiang, Master Kong, Patriarch Zhao, I know I was wrong. Please, please don't kill me. I don't want to die. Xia Miao was scared out of his wits when he saw a servant pulling out a shiny dagger and approaching him with a hideous grin. His face turned as white as a sheet of paper, his body trembled non-stop, and he spoke with a sobbing tone. Under the shadow of death, he threw away all his dignity and only wanted to save his own life. Under the extreme fear, Xia Miao's body suddenly trembled. He had lost control of his bladder. His entire crotch was wet, and a pungent stench filled the air. Patriarch Zhao, please stop. Jiang Tian smiled lightly and stopped Zhao Yuankuan, and then he said with a composed and unhurried expression, he's only an ant. If I wanted to kill him, then he would have become a corpse a long time ago. Why would I need to rely on an outsider to do it? Zhao Yuankuan nodded and motioned for the servant to stop. Jiang Tian looked down at Xia Miao, who was kneeling on the ground, and mocked, someone like you dares to threaten me and have designs on the Medicine King group. Don't think you're so great just because you can manipulate the stock price and scam a few individual investors. In my opinion, you're just a weak and useless piece of trash who only knows how to vent your lust on a few stupid women. You'll have to ask me if you want to touch the Jiang family. Chapter 183. Crazy. Too crazy. Everyone was shocked. Xia Miao was a famous person in Jinling, but in Jiang Tian's eyes, he was nothing more than an ant or a speck of dust. But when they thought about how Jiang Tian had suppressed Xiao Yuankuan to the point where he didn't even dare do anything, it made sense for him to be this arrogant. With that, Jiang Tian didn't even look at Xia Miao as he followed Xiao Yuankuan out of the courtyard. Man, so he's actually this capable. He should be the kind of martial arts master I'm looking for. Lin Monong's pretty face had a complicated expression as she stared at Jiang Tian's carefree and unruly back. Her heart was in turmoil. How is Jiang Tian so strong? It'd be great if he was my boyfriend. Tang Bao clasped her hand over her heart as she gazed at Jiang Tian's back. Her eyes flickered with extraordinary splendor as she muttered with a love-struck expression. Suddenly, she seemed to remember something as her face turned awkward. She pulled Meng Yao's arm excitedly. Meng Yao sis, didn't Jiang Tian chase after you all those years ago? Do you think it's possible for you two to get back together now? Lin Monong's face changed at the words. She turned her head around, her eyes focused on Meng Yao's face. What did you say? Jiang Tian? Meng Yao looked at Tang Bao, in confusion, as if she'd just woken up from a dream. Lin Monong smiled gently as she said meaningfully, yeah, if Jiang Tian still has that kind of love, then he'd be very suitable for Meng Yao. Suitable? Meng Yao's eyes were blank as if she'd lost her soul. A strong sense of regret rose in her heart. The bitterness continued to spread until it covered her entire body, and even her mouth tasted bitter. She might have been able to say something like that a few years ago, but she didn't even dare think about it. The current Jiang Tian was treated so respectfully by a tyrant like Xiao Yuankuan. What kind of strength did he have? What kind of glory did he have? Of course, she wanted to start anew with Jiang Tian. Compared to Jiang Tian, Xia Miao, who was so scared that she peed in her pants, was like a big joke. However, Jiang Tian was like the stars in the sky, shining brightly yet so far away that she could only look up at him. When did that happen? Don't talk nonsense. Meng Yao forced a smile as she tried to suppress her emotions. She seemed as if she didn't care at all, but her nose and the corners of her eyes were sore, and she couldn't hold back her tears. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. If he can do well in the Gan province, I'm afraid there aren't many people in Jinling who can suppress him. Xia Miao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up shakily. His eyes were filled with fear and confusion. There was no hatred or anger in his heart, only endless fear and shock. In the Hall of Brotherhood, many martial arts experts were discussing how to get rid of Jiang Tian. Jiang Bei Master Kong, here. Suddenly, along with the sound of welcoming guests, a figure walked in lazily with his hands behind his back. In an instant, the hall became silent as if a sponge had sucked in all the sound. Everyone turned their heads in unison and looked at Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was wearing a casual outfit and looked like he was in his 20s. His height and appearance were average, and he was just a little handsome. He couldn't be found in a crowd. Immediately, a cultivator with a lower cultivation base whispered, "So this is Jiang Taichu? I don't see anything strange about him." On the other hand, the Hong family of Yi Province, the Mo family of Lingnan, the Tang sect of Central Shu, the Golden Blade Wang family of Luoyang, and Zhang Wendao all had gloomy expressions as they gnashed their teeth and stared at Jiang Tian with gazes as sharp as blades. Jiang Tian turned a blind eye to them. He cupped his fists and smiled. I heard that the Martial Arts Alliance is gathering all the martial arts experts in the world for a meeting. Although I don't claim to be an expert, I have a favor to ask of my fellow martial artists. Please forgive me for coming so abruptly. As he spoke, he bowed slightly. His posture was elegant and polite. The more respectful Jiang Tian was, the more everyone was sure that he was up to something. Their eyes flashed as they looked at each other. Some of them were already on guard and secretly channeling their skills. Wei Filong cupped his fists and said, "Master Kong, sit." A disciple brought a chair over and put it down. It was facing all the martial artists. If Jiang Tian sat down, he would be like a criminal on trial. Jiang Tian frowned but didn't say anything. He sat down gently with Tang Linglong and Ghost Kick standing behind him. Wei Filong planned to use peaceful means before resorting to force. He smiled amiably and said, "Master Kong, why are you here? I heard that your talent is amazing and your cultivation is powerful. You must be here for the position of the Martial Arts Alliance's president." As soon as he said that, everyone looked at Jiang Tian to see how he would answer. As long as he showed the slightest intention, he would be scolded and humiliated. If it was in the past, Jiang Tian would probably scoff. However, today, he was here to ask about the D-daughter flower so that Qing'er could embark on the path of cultivation. He didn't want to make their relationship too tense. He shook his head gently and said politely, "President Wei, you must be joking. I'm just a nobody. My cultivation is too weak, my status is low, and my knowledge is shallow. How would I dare to covet the position of the Martial Arts Alliance's president?" Wei Filong relaxed slightly and said with a smile, "Then, Master Kong, why are you here?" Jiang Tian nodded slightly. Ghost Kick slowly walked out and distributed the D-daughter flowers, rendering to everyone. Jiang Tian looked around at everyone and said with a faint smile, "I'm looking for a spirit herb called the D-daughter flower. Of course, it might have another name. In short, it looks like this." Wei Filong was greatly surprised. Originally, at the Martial Arts Alliance conference, there would be people exchanging cultivation methods, secret manuals, spirit herbs, and other cultivation resources. It was extremely common. However, everyone was trying to kill Kang Taechu. This guy who had killed countless people and angered gods actually took the initiative to come to their door. It was unbelievable. He looked up and down at the D-daughter flowers rendering. Even with his vast knowledge, he had never seen or heard of such a thing. Jiang Tian said sincerely, "Fellow martial artists and heroes, if there is, I am willing to repay you with a large sum of money, or any other conditions, I can agree to them." Swish! A martial artist in the crowd laughed disdainfully and said, "Master Kong, you sure talk big. I'm at the peak of iron body. I want to step into the transcendent state within 3 months. Can you help me do that? What's so difficult about that? If you have it, I can help you realize your dream." Jiang Tian picked up his tea and took a sip, smiling faintly. Swish! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. They all felt that this person had gone crazy. The gap between the iron body and the transcendent state was thousands of miles. It was like a natural chasm. Even if one cultivated hard for 20 years, it would be difficult to reach it. However, Jiang Tian shamelessly said that he could achieve a breakthrough in 3 months. Even if he was a transcendent master, he didn't have the ability to do so. After a while, many people started to look down on Jiang Tian a little. This person didn't know martial arts at all. He was just fishing for fame. One had to know that the more profound one was in martial arts, the more they should know the difficulty of martial arts cultivation and the more modest and cautious they should be. Could it be that his valiant battle achievements were all based on another story, and it was just a rumor? "Master Kong, if I have it, I'd like to sell it to you for 10 billion. Can you do it?" Someone joked. 10 billion? No problem. Jiang Tian smiled lazily and nodded. He was the conqueror of Lingnan. With one sentence, someone would obediently send the money to him. He could also make the same amount of money in a few days by refining grand medicine and making Dharma artifacts. Swish! Many people laughed, their faces full of disdain. "May I ask if you are a money-printing machine? How can you have so much money? Even if you have so much money, you are willing to give it all away for a stalk of herb. How shameless!" Who knew that Jiang Tian didn't care about worldly wealth? In order to help his beloved wife embark on the road of cultivation, even if it was 100 billion or a trillion, Jiang Tian wouldn't care, let alone 10 billion. Jiang Tian observed everyone's expressions and couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. He said lightly, "A gentleman doesn't joke. What I said today is still valid. As long as you have this new flower, I'll agree to any condition, whether it's 10 billion or nurturing you into a transcendent master." Then, he stood up and said lightly, "Please help me pass on this message. If I get it, I'll definitely reward you handsomely. If you don't have it, then I won't take advantage of you. I'll take my leave first." Seeing him turn around and leave, everyone was anxious. Wei Feilong stood up and said, "Master Kong, please wait. Is there anything else?" Jiang Tian turned around and asked. Wei Feilong smiled bitterly and said, "Master Kong, I know your cultivation is high, but you have killed too many people. It's not a good thing to set off a storm of blood in the Jianghu. Master Kong, please reflect on your mistakes and don't walk in the Jianghu anymore to avoid stirring up disputes." Wei Feilong's personality was honest and gentle, so his words were polite. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "President Wei's words are reasonable. As long as others don't send their heads to me, I won't be willing to make a move. Send their heads to you? What are you talking about? Did you kill people who deserve to be killed?" Zhang Mingli was so angry that her face turned pale. She couldn't bear it anymore. She stood up and pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted. Originally, she was also shocked when she saw Jiang Tian, but today, all the heroes of the world were here, so she had confidence. "Yes." Jiang Tian nodded and said. "Why did they deserve to be killed? What are their crimes? You have to give us an explanation." Zhang Mingli looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and sneered. "Who do you think you are? You're just a little girl with an iron body cultivation, and you want me to give you an explanation?" Jiang Tian sneered, then looked around at everyone and said, "I, Kang Te Chu, do things naturally and naturally. I don't need to explain to you." Zhang Mingli was speechless from Jiang Tian's words, and her momentum had weakened. Indeed, in terms of status and strength, she was not qualified to talk to Jiang Tian. "Kang Te Chu, you've gone too far. Don't you know that you've killed innocent people? Apologize to the heroes of the world." Seeing Jiang Tian being so arrogant, many martial artists of Lingnan Mo clan, Yi Province Hong clan, and Luoyang Golden Blade Wang clan were enraged. They pointed at Jiang Tian and said angrily, "What if I don't apologize?" Jiang Tian's mouth curved into a disdainful smile. He glanced at the crowd and said slowly, "What do you want?" Everyone was stunned. They never thought that Jiang Tian could be so strong in front of dozens of martial artists. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said with a cold look in his eyes, "Everyone has gathered here today to discuss how to deal with this Jiang. How could I not know about it? However, do you really think you have the ability?" Chapter 184. This kid is too arrogant. Even if he is a transcendent grandmaster, he shouldn't be so arrogant. After Jiang Tian walked away, Wei Feilong sighed with regret. Since he is so stubborn, then I can't be bothered with him. When old Grandmaster Hu comes, I will ask him to help me. Hearing this, everyone was jubilant. "Master, are we really going to stay here? What if they come for revenge? Let's go." On the way back to the residence, Tang Linglong said worriedly. "If they want to get rich, then let them get rich. I don't like money." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "It's revenge." "Master, how can you still be in the mood to joke?" Tang Linglong beat her chest and stamped her feet, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Oh, revenge? Then I'll kill him." Jiang Tian shook his head indifferently and said lightly, "I can't leave anyway. I still have to find the princess flower for your master's wife." "Master, how did you find out that the mixed-race white man was talking just now?" Ghost Kick frowned and asked. He used ventriloquism. Jiang Tian's face was calm. This kind of secret technique was done by moving the stomach and not the mouth at all. Of course, it could hide from ordinary martial artists. But how could it hide from Jiang Tian's eyes, who could see through things and had divine sense? For the next 2 days, Jiang Tian wandered around the martial arts gathering, chatting with martial artists and asking about the princess flower. Strange to say, many martial artists in the Hall of Brotherhood shouted at him, but in private, they were afraid of him and tried to please him. They hated and feared Jiang Tian. When there were many of them, they were fearless, but when facing Jiang Tian alone, fear took over and they did not dare to offend him. Sigh, martial artists are also human. Sometimes, it is for survival. In this regard, Jiang Tian shook his head and smiled bitterly. He asked many martial artists, but they did not provide any information about the princess flower. Regarding this, Jiang Tian was already mentally prepared and was not discouraged. But in fact, there were also many martial artists who hated Jiang Tian. They were waiting for Hu Qingtian to rush over and kill Kang Teichu. It could be said that this martial arts gathering was filled with undercurrents and murderous intents. On the morning of the 3rd day, the atmosphere was clearly different. All the martial artists woke up early in the morning, their faces brimming with excitement, nervousness, anticipation, and uneasiness. Today, however, was the day that the single elimination tournament began, and the chairman of the Martial Arts Alliance would be decided. Hu Qingtian would also be arriving on this day. Master, let's go take a look and see what level these grandmasters are at. Tang Linglong tugged at Jiang Tian's sleeve. What's there to see? You can go. Jiang Tian shook his head disinterestedly. Tang Linglong agreed. Her master had defeated Mo Haoxiong and Hong Tianzhao with a snap of his fingers. Which grandmaster in the world could catch her master's eye? But she wanted to broaden her horizons, so she left the courtyard and followed the flow of people to the lakeside side of the manor. The entire water manor and a large part of Poyang Lake were cordoned off. Many police officers were patrolling around the water manor or on speedboats. They separated the martial artists from the secular world and strictly forbade the secular people from getting close. Looking at the license plates of the police cars, not only were there local police from Zhejiang, but there were also many from Hong City. It was obvious that the police of Gan province were also taking this seriously. The manor near the lake had an open courtyard and an excellent view. It was 1 to 2 meters above the water and was used as the venue for the ceremony. There were colorful flags and banners, and many spectator seats were set up. Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan, one on the left and the other on the right, were escorting a tall old man with a surging aura. He was sitting in the front row on an armchair, very conspicuous. The old man was wearing a long black robe and looked to be in his 70s. His hair and beard were white, but his eyes were sharp. Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankuan, on the other hand, were originally people of noble status, extremely high seniority, and profound cultivation, but they were respectful and reverent to him, and treated him like a disciple. Behind them, there were many famous martial artists seated according to their ages and cultivations. There were dozens of internal force masters and a few transcendent grandmasters, let alone iron body cultivators. Who is that old man? Why do I see so many rich people bowing to him? Chu Mengyao exclaimed from the crowd outside the cordon. She looked tired. Lin Manong, Tang Bao, Lei Gang, Xia Miao, Yi Feng, and a group of young people from Jin City stood beside him. Their status was too low and they didn't know any martial arts, so they were arranged to watch the ceremony. They didn't even have the right to sit. Yeah, Zhongyuan Real Estate's chairman Hong Tao, Jiangnan Shipbuilding's chairman Liu, Tianwei Entertainment's chairman Zhao, these are all frequent guests on the Forbes rich list. And our Jinling martial arts expert Lei Gang's father Lei Ming, Tang Bao, stared fixedly at the old man with an extraordinary bearing, and she had an expression of disbelief as he recited the identities of those rich and powerful figures with great familiarity. These rich people were all famous in Huaxia. They were all worth tens of billions and were many times more powerful than House Chu and House Tang in Jin City. Yet now, he was prostrating himself before that old man, and was humbly greeting him. This was truly inconceivable. He should be one of those legendary martial artists. Lin Monong's beautiful eyes were sparkling, flickering with splendor. In her heart, she was thinking, is Jiang Tian also this kind of expert? Do you think Jiang Tian is the same as them? Tang Bao suddenly pulled on Lin Monong's sleeve. Lin Monong was just a normal person. She didn't know that much. She smiled. I don't know. But Zhao Yuankun respects Jiang Tian so much, even calling him master. He should be very strong. How's that possible? Meng Yao thought about it the whole night and didn't sleep a wink. She finally came to a conclusion. Jiang Tian might know a bit about martial arts, but he's definitely not some master. He's just a nobody. Yes, in her eyes, Jiang Tian was a useless piece of trash. He didn't attend any classes in university, slept in class all day, failed all his exams, and didn't know anything about business. All he knew was picking up girls and fighting. His body was extremely weak, too. He spent all his time in internet cafes and bars, picking up girls and instant noodles. How could he be a master? But Zhao Yuankun respects him a lot. Tang Bao said weakly. She didn't like Jiang Tian, but seeing Jiang Tian suppress Lei Gang, Xia Miao, and Zhao Hao, she couldn't accept it, but she could vaguely feel that Jiang Tian was no ordinary person. What's so strange about that? Meng Yao said coldly. Don't forget that House Jiang is a medical family, and Jiang Changgang is a famous doctor in Jinling. People in Wulin get hurt all the time. Maybe Zhao Yuankun was treated by Jiang Tian before, and that's why Zhao Yuankun gave Jiang Tian face. That's possible. She had always been unable to accept the fact that Jiang Tian had become strong. It was like a pearl covered in dust, but after being lightly rubbed, it became extremely radiant and dazzling, causing her to not have the courage to look directly at it. She'd tossed and turned in bed last night, racking her brains to come up with a reasonable explanation. He definitely doesn't have the ability to do that himself. Meng Yao said confidently. On the side, Lei Gang wanted to say something, but stopped. Jiang Tian had to be at the Grandmaster level to defeat Zhao Hao. But Xia Miao was there as well, and he was Jiang Tian's love rival. As his bro, he couldn't really say anything about Jiang Tian's strength. So House Jiang isn't as bad as the rumors say. Tang Bao said innocently. Even if he relies on his family, that's nothing. Xia Miao and Lei Gang both rely on their families. Meng Yao sis, Xia Miao really isn't as good as Jiang Tian. Don't say that, it's impossible between us. Meng Yao was irritated at the mention of Jiang Tian's name. Her heart was filled with complicated feelings, and she felt very uncomfortable. Northwest Grandmaster Li Tuofeng is here to watch the ceremony. Following a loud announcement, a group of people suddenly came from the manor to the venue of the ceremony. This old man was wearing a sheepskin jacket, and a white towel was tied around his head. He was skinny, and his skin was dark. He had a copper pipe in his hand, and he looked like an old farmer. Old Grandmaster Li, I didn't expect you to come. Old Grandmaster Li, how have you been? Old Li, I've wanted to pay my respects to you for a long time, but I never had the chance to. However, many of the tycoons present scrambled to stand up. They bowed respectfully and cupped their fists, greeting him in such a manner. Old Hero Li, you're finally here. Sorry for not coming out to welcome you. Even Wei Feilong and Zhao Yuankun came out to welcome him, their faces full of joy. Of all the tycoons, only Hu Qingtian didn't come out to welcome him, but he stood up and cupped his fist from afar. What's so strange about this old man? He looks like he's very poor. His old leather jacket is completely bald. Tang Bao said innocently. Little girl, be careful with your words. This is a martial Dao Grandmaster. An old man said in a deep voice from the cordon. Eh. How did you hear me? Tang Bao was shocked. I'm more than 10 meters away from this old man, and I purposely lowered my voice. How did he hear me? I'm an internal strength cultivator, and my ears can hear ants fighting. What's this distance? The old man saw Tang Bao's innocent and cute face, so he said a few more words. Grandpa, what are you talking about? Martial Dao Grandmasters? Tang Bao asked curiously. You're not martial artists? Whose children are you? How did you get in? The old man frowned and asked solemnly. Meng Yao and Tang Bao's family wealth was only a few hundred million, and they didn't have the right to come in. They were brought in by Jiang Tian, but Tang Bao was worried that Jiang Tian wouldn't be able to control the old man, so she smiled and said, Oh, we're disciples of Jinling's Lei Dojo. Lei Gang hurriedly cupped his fist and bowed. Senior, Lei Ming is my father, and these are my senior and junior brothers. Oh, Lei Ming. I think he's the cannon fist master. Has he broken through to the peak of Iron Body? The old man clearly didn't know Lei Ming well, and he only remembered after hesitating for a long time. Oh, thanks to Grandpa, he just reached the peak of Iron Body last year, Lei Gang said respectfully. Oh, that's rare. The old man nodded nonchalantly, then said in surprise, but your senior and junior brothers are too weak. They don't even know about martial Dao grandmasters. Didn't your father tell them? Chapter 185. Master, he is, everyone chuckled in shame, not knowing how to answer. Seeing how handsome and adorable they were, the old man smiled and said, Lei Ming probably thought that you would never reach the Transcendent Grandmaster level, so he didn't tell you. A Transcendent Grandmaster is a martial arts overlord who has reached the Transcendent state. They can condense Qi into weapons and control objects with Qi. They can hurt people from 100 meters away, and they are not even afraid of bullets. The old man sighed and explained. What? A Transcendent Grandmaster is that powerful? If he can't be killed by bullets, is he still human? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. This was too unbelievable. It was like the special effects in Hollywood blockbusters. It didn't seem real at all. So the Lei family is not the top martial artists, even Lin Manong, who knew a little about martial arts, couldn't believe it. Compared to these immortal-like characters, Lei Gang was only strong enough to be able to break bricks and stones with a kick. Bullets are nothing. 20 years ago, Yi Zhantian, the god of war in the army, fought with Xiao Bin, a veteran Transcendent Grandmaster in the northwest. The old man smiled proudly and said, Yi Zhantian had just finished his battle with Lin Zhenyu and was severely injured. In desperation, he could only ask the military to bombard him with artillery. Guess what happened? What else? He died. Everyone asked. Wouldn't he have been reduced to a pile of meat after being bombarded by artillery? I heard that Xiao Bin was only injured and spat out blood. He didn't die. Instead, he escaped to the icy plains of Siberia. The old man sighed and said with a long sigh. What the? When everyone heard this, they were dumbstruck and petrified on the spot. Li Camel Feng may not look like much, but he is actually very powerful in the northwest. The old man looked at Li Tuofeng who was sitting in the front row with reverence and said in a deep voice, back then, when he was traveling on the grassland of Inner Mongolia, he once killed hundreds of wild wolves by himself. At that time, he was only 30 years old. Even this little old man is so powerful. Tang Bao said with a trembling voice. Just as the old man was about to say something, Li Tuofeng had finished greeting everyone present. Wei Feilong, who was in the front row, stood up and glanced around with a smile. Thank you, fellow martial artists from all over the world, as well as friends from the secular world who support the development of martial arts. His speech and thanks were well thought out. Then, he puffed out his chest and said, Today is the old man's last day as the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. Right after that, we will decide the new chief of the Martial Arts Alliance through a challenge tournament. Where's the arena? Why don't I see an arena? Tang Bao, was astonished and looked around. Hee, those who are going to fight today are all transcendent grandmasters. Ordinary martial artists are not qualified to be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. The old man opened his mouth to explain again. Once a transcendent grandmaster made a move, it would be earth-shattering. Ordinary arenas, dojos, or stadiums would not be able to withstand the devastation of a transcendent grandmaster. It'll be torn down in minutes. What? So powerful. Everyone felt like they were dreaming when they heard that. Yeah, my dad only has an iron body, but I saw with my own eyes that he smashed the railing of the arena into pieces with one punch. Lei Gang said proudly. Then where did they fight? Tang Bao turned into a curious child again. Do you see that? That's Shu Mountain. The old man pointed at a mountain peak above the water and said lightly. Shu Mountain, also known as Shu Mountain Island, was named because it looked like a shoe left behind by a ferry in Poyang Lake. It was only a few kilometers away from the mouth of the Yangtze River from Poyang Lake and was opposite Small Lonely Mountain in the Yangtze River. Therefore, Shu Mountain was also known as Big Lonely Mountain. Big Lonely Mountain is far away from Small Lonely Mountain. The moon shines on Dongting to return to the passenger boat. That was a famous line used by a Tang Dynasty poet to describe Shu Mountain. Shu Mountain was shaped like a shoe. It was low at the front and high at the back. It was about 500 meters long and 200 meters wide. The highest point was 90 meters above sea level. Blue waves surged around it and there were 3 cliffs. Only the northwest corner could anchor a boat. Shu Mountain was about 70 meters above the surface of the lake and had a circumference of 100 meters. It was tall and beautiful, and was known as the Immortal Island of Penglai in ancient times. The mountain was filled with tall pine trees and lush greenery. There was a beautiful ancient building in the forest, the Heavenly Flower Palace. The palace was majestic, and the statues were splendid. The sound of the morning bells and drums and the Sanskrit music made people feel like they were floating in the clouds. Fight on this? This is a scenic area. Tang Bao said in a daze. Hee, grandmasters are like dragons. It's still a grand occasion even if they destroy the scenic area. The old man chuckled. Mount Song is famous both at home and abroad because of Shaolin. Mount Hua is remembered because of the swordsmanship of the predecessors. Mount Shu is also famous because of the mystical legends of sword immortals. This old man dares to guarantee that after this battle, many people will come to pay their respects to the ruins. He was fascinated and said with deep emotion, the ancient martial artists walked on the heavens and earth and practiced their martial arts in the Great Lake. Since ancient times, militarists have always fought over Poyang Lake, which stretches as far as the eye can see. Only then can we show the breadth of mind and bearing of martial artists. After the dragon and lion dance performance, Wei Feilong got up again and looked around with a smile. You are all famous martial arts heroes. If anyone wants to be the champion and is willing to take over my position, just go ahead and climb the Shu Mountain. Seeing Wei Feilong's gaze, Hong Hichu quickly said, we give up. I admit defeat. Only a transcendent grandmaster can take on the role of the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. How dare we challenge him? Yeah, we don't dare to challenge him. We'll wait for the battle between the grandmasters. The martial artists present stood up and bowed to the transcendent grandmasters with reverence in their eyes. Hua Xia's martial arts cultivation level was very strict. Normally, a transcendent grandmaster could take on 100 internal force or iron body cultivators at once and kill them with a snap of his fingers. However, challenging a transcendent grandmaster with the iron body internal force was like an ant trying to shake a tree. It was ridiculous. They attended the martial arts gathering to build connections and discuss the plan to kill Jiang Tian. They also wanted to broaden their horizons. However, they would never dare to compete for the position of the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. Grandmasters, please make your move. Grandmasters, please make your move. In a moment, Many martial artists scrambled to get up and shouted. Their voices became louder and louder, converging into a torrent that had the power to soar into the sky. The momentum was astonishing. They know the terrifying power of a grandmaster. You're welcome. Thank you. The three older grandmasters, Hua Qingtian, Zhao Yuankuan, Li Tuofeng, and a few middle-aged grandmasters, were not surprised at all. They smiled proudly and nodded slightly. Who will go on the stage first? Wei Feilong smiled in response. He looked at the grandmasters and said, "It seems that the position of the president of the Martial Arts Alliance will be decided among the few of you. I'm afraid the result will be out today. Elder Hua's presence is like the sun and moon in the sky. We wouldn't dare to compete. If it were up to me, I'd like to invite Elder Hua to be the president. We will definitely support it." Zhao Yuankuan chuckled. Yeah. Elder Hua is our senior. Wei Feilong agreed. The other grandmasters also nodded in agreement. Only Li Tuofeng snorted and didn't say anything. You all think too highly of an old man. Hua Qingtian cupped his fists and smiled. I'm old and weak. I'm afraid I won't be able to do it. Elder Hua, you're a veteran grandmaster. You're on par with Yi Zhantian, the god of war. If you don't do it, who will? As the saying goes, the old steed has great ambitions. You have the hope of reaching the immortal state. You're still young. Everyone knew that he was being courteous, so they didn't take it to heart. They all started to flatter him. Flattery flew up and down, and the flattery was a riot of colors. At this time, Hung Junshan of Yi Province stood up shakily and cupped his fists. Elder Hua, you should be the president and uphold justice. My son was brutally killed by Kang Taichu. Kang Taichu is in the village. He's so arrogant. My son was also beaten by him until he vomited blood. Zhao Yuankuan added. This man is crazy and cruel. This old man has heard about him. Don't worry, this old man will kill this scourge and get rid of this public nuisance for the martial arts world of Huaxia. Hua Qingtian's face was full of arrogance. His eyes were cold and he said in a deep voice, ask that Jiang Taichu to come here. I want to ask him what he is relying on to dare to be the enemy of the entire martial arts world and be the only man in the world. At this time, his powerful aura suppressed everyone. His whole body was like an unsheathed sword, showing its sharpness. Many of the martial artists were out of breath, and it was only after he stopped speaking for 3 seconds that they were able to breathe again. They couldn't help but feel uneasy, and their eyes were filled with fear. A veteran grandmaster was indeed a grandmaster. He was too powerful. This Hua Qingtian also wants to deal with master. In the crowd, Tang Linglong was shocked. Her pretty face changed color. Suddenly, Li Tuofeng sneered and scratched his head. He said coldly, Brother Hua, you haven't become the president of the Martial Arts Alliance yet, and you're already giving orders. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by the world? Everyone was stunned. Li Tuofeng was obviously not convinced, but no one dared to say anything. After all, Hua Qingtian was ranked 3rd on the divine list, and Li Tuofeng was ranked 5th. Their cultivations were about the same. He was indeed qualified to compete. Both of them were top-notch martial artists. When the gods fought, the mortals would shut up. No one had the right to say anything. Hua Qingtian's face darkened. His eyes turned cold. He said in a low voice, Old camel, you're right. Don't meddle when you're not in the position. It seems like you think that this old man can't take on the responsibility of being the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. That's good. We haven't fought in a long time. You go up Big Lonely Mountain first. Hua Qingtian, your mouth is full of crap. You don't have the bearing of a master at all. Come, let's fight. Li Tuofeng hated it when people mocked his disability. Hearing this, he couldn't help but fly into a rage. With a roar, he was already above the lake like a gust of wind. Aya, what's wrong with this old man? Is he going to commit suicide by jumping into the lake? Tang Bao exclaimed. The moment Li Tuofeng's feet touched the surface of the water, he jumped up like a swallow and shot dozens of meters away. Just like that, he was like a nimble swallow. He jumped up and down on the surface of the water. In a breath's time, he climbed up Shu Mountain. How is this possible? He just walked over the water like that. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? Lin Manong, Chu Mengyao, Tang Bao, and the rest of the ordinary people were shocked. Their hearts almost jumped out of their throats. They were dizzy, and their hearts were in a daze. Chapter 186. Kang Tae-chu, you've committed a heinous crime. We're discussing how to capture you and cut you into pieces. Since you've delivered yourself to us, that's great. Kill yourself to pay tribute to the souls of those martial arts heroes in heaven. Clang! Hong Junshan pulled out a saber and threw it in front of Jiang Tian, scolding him angrily. Tang Linglong couldn't take it anymore. She took a step forward and said coldly, "Humph, none of the people my master killed was a hero. They were all cowards and evil dogs. Little girl, how dare you talk nonsense? Do you want to die?" Yeah, a little kid dares to talk nonsense about the martial arts heroes in the world. You're courting death. If I were your parent, I would have killed you with a slap. Look, cowards and evil dogs. How unpleasant. Many martial artists were furious. They pointed at Tang Linglong and shouted angrily. The scene was noisy. Shut up. Tang Linglong's face turned cold. She raised her eyebrows and shouted softly. Her voice was like a dragon's roar and demon's roar, shaking the eardrums of everyone. Their eyes were filled with fear and they quieted down. Where did this girl come from? Why is her aura so strong? Many martial artists present exclaimed in surprise. She seems to be Tang Guizhu's granddaughter. But she wasn't a martial artist before. I didn't see her that powerful. Some sharp-eyed martial artists recognized her, but they felt even more incredulous and surprised. Tang Linglong wasn't as indifferent as Jiang Tian, who couldn't be bothered to explain everything. Instead, she had a sharp tongue and a glib tongue. In addition, she looked down on these people, so how could she keep her mouth shut? She immediately said quickly, "Don't you believe me? That bastard Hung Tian Zhao was the one who set me up and poisoned me. I wanted to steal my master's elixirs and treasures. Why couldn't my master resist? Should he stretch out his neck and let him kill him? His life is a life, but my master's life is not a life." This. Hong Junshan was speechless. He looked embarrassed and didn't know how to explain. What about Wei Shuofeng? Old immortal Wei is an otherworldly expert. Don't tell me you should kill him. Zhang Mingli asked again. Tang Linglong smiled in disdain and said, that Wei Shuofeng is even worse. He couldn't compete for business, so he used his spells to raise ghosts in my family's Crouching Dragon Mountain villa, causing my grandfather to fall ill. Later on, he sent his disciples to control the people of Jiangbei. My master came to ask for an explanation and agreed to a duel. Chao Shixiang from the military was there as a witness. His skills were inferior and he was killed by my master. Can you blame my master? Just as Mo Haoxiong's descendants were about to retort, Tang Linglong had already taken care of them. She sneered, my master was originally looking for Wei Shuofeng to seek justice, but Mo Haoxiong thought that his cultivation was strong enough to suppress others, so he meddled in other people's business and insisted on attacking my master. Isn't this just meddling in other people's business? He deserved to die. Why are you speaking so harshly? Don't you have any sympathy for a girl? Everyone from the Mo clan was so angry that their faces turned white. However, Tang Linglong's words hit the nail on the head. Their rebuttal seemed so weak and feeble. I want to ask everyone here, which one of you hasn't killed before? Tang Linglong suddenly asked coldly. For a moment, the hall was silent. Everyone present was silent and looked awkward. Chivalrous people used martial arts to break the rules. Although the Long Formation and the Martial Arts Alliance were established in the 90s and began to whip the world and maintain the order of martial arts, the world was much more stable. However, true martial arts were not about strengthening the body or treating people to meals. It was about killing people. The dragon-slaying technique was a fight to the death. Whether it was a fight for benefits, a vendetta in the Jianghu, or a spar, no matter the reason, everyone present had never hurt or killed someone who hadn't taken a few lives on their hands. However, if the person who was killed was also a martial artist, his family and friends would usually think that he was not skilled enough and admit that he was unlucky. They would not report it to the authorities. As the saying went, if the people did not report it, the authorities would not investigate. To put it bluntly, whether it was the Long Formation or the Martial Arts Alliance, what they really protected were the ordinary people in the secular world. They did not allow martial artists to hurt ordinary people. As for the fights between martial artists, unless innocent people were hurt, they would usually turn a blind eye. If my master is guilty, then everyone here is guilty. Tang Linglong said coldly, if my master is guilty and is to be punished, then everyone must be treated the same. No exceptions. Her voice was like the sound of a sword, with a faint sound of metal and stone. It shook everyone's eardrums. If you think that you are innocent and have never killed anyone, then go ahead and do it to my master. After she finished speaking, the hall was dead silent. Many martial artists were speechless and did not know how to refute. Actually, I have just stepped into martial arts. There are still many rules that I don't know. Jiang Tian's face was calm and composed. He smiled lazily and said, I want to ask everyone here, if I want to kill you, can you not resist? Of course I have to resist. No matter how strong you are, even if you are Yi Zhantian, I still have to resist. A bad-tempered martial artist in the audience slammed the table and roared loudly. There must be something wrong with your brain, local bully is indeed local bully. You are so retarded. All the martial artists looked at him gloomily and cursed in their hearts. Sigh, we have all been led into a ditch by Kang Tae-chu. It's really, some martial artists sighed and shook their heads helplessly. This martial artist was Wei Feilong's youngest son, Wei Sanduo. People called him local bully. He was tall and muscular. He should be an iron body cultivator. However, his eyes were a little dazed, as if they could not focus. His brain was not very good. Yes, this is a principle that even a 3-year-old child knows. Don't you all know? Jiang Tian looked at Wei Sanduo with admiration. The latter grinned and gave Jiang Tian a simple and honest smile. Jiang Tian was calm and unruffled in the midst of chaos as he said unhurriedly, they want to kill me, so of course I have to retaliate. Kang Tae-chu, don't try to quibble. Don't you know the principle of being kind to others and not going overboard? In short, since your debut, you have been crazy and set off a storm of blood everywhere. Now, President Wei just wants you to bow your head and apologize because he thinks you are a talent. But you are not even willing to accept this. Do you want to be the enemy of all the martial artists in the world? Hong Junshan shouted as he stood up, pointing at Jiang Tian with a furious expression. He did not want to argue with Jiang Tian. This sentence was rather heart-wrenching. He directly opposed Jiang Tian and Wei Feilong, the Martial Arts Alliance, and the heroes of the world. It could be said that he was roasting Jiang Tian on a fire. So what if I am the enemy of the world? Jiang Tian smiled lazily and said, I will stay in Poyang Manor for a few days and wait for everyone to come and take revenge. As soon as these words came out, the audience fell into a dead silence. This kid is too arrogant. Everyone's face changed drastically and they couldn't believe it. Even Wei Feilong's face became very ugly. He'd intended to make Jiang Tian lower his head and admit his mistake to give everyone a way out and put an end to this dispute. But he'd never imagined that Jiang Tian actually didn't know when to back down and failed to live up to his painstaking efforts and insisted on going head-on against him, causing him to be stuck in the middle and in a difficult position. Since you don't want to give me face, then I won't care about you and let you die on your own. Okay, Kang Tae-chu, how dare you? If you have the guts, then stay here. This old man will be the first one to come after you. Jiang Tian's words ignited Hung Junshin's anger. Hung Junshin's beard fluttered in the air as he roared. Master Kang, you are too reckless. Even if you are a transcendent master, do you think you can handle all the heroes of the world? Zhang Wendao said with a cold smile. Humph, after the challenge tournament, we will be free to kill you. Mo Haoxiong's son gritted his teeth. Did you see that? This is his true colors. He is determined to be the enemy of the world. Is this how he looks down on the world's martial arts? How can he be so arrogant and insufferably arrogant? Sigh, even if he has reached the initial transcendent state at such a young age, it is already rare. However, he doesn't know that the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. In the face of so many overlords, even Yi Zhantian would not be so arrogant and rude. Yeah, this kind of arrogant and domineering personality will not go far. He is tired of living. For a time, many cultivators shouted angrily, some shook their heads and sighed regretfully, some even rolled up their sleeves, causing the Hall of Brotherhood to be filled with noise and chaos. Everyone, stop making noise. Wei Feilong rose to his feet and gestured for everyone to quiet down. When everyone had quieted down, an old voice suddenly rang out, Jiang Taichu, you sure talk big. You're not afraid of the whole world being your enemy. Dare I ask, aren't you afraid of Lin Zhenyu? You killed his disciple, Xing Shanhu, and he is on his way. You will be scared to death. It was the same voice again. Shut up. Jiang Tian sneered. He suddenly raised his hand and pointed with his finger. With a swish, a wind blade tore through the air. Among the crowd, a man saw Jiang Tian raise his hand and was about to run away. However, before he could react, the wind blade had already reached him. With a sharp sound, the man's neck was cut off. Blood spurted a few meters high and his head rolled to the ground. Huh? Isn't that Li Ling, the boxer of Hong? Kang Tae-chu, how can you kill innocent people like this? Wei Feilong slammed the table angrily. He was a peaceful person, but Jiang Tian killed people in front of him. Even if he was made of mud, he could not hold back his anger. He is not Li Ling. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. He is in disguise. Look at his face. Suddenly, Wei Sanduo exclaimed. Everyone who was glaring at Jiang Tian turned to look at him after hearing his words. The man's face cracked, revealing his real face. He was a blonde foreigner. He is Lin Zhenyu's disciple, Xing Shanhu's junior brother, the leader of the California branch, Hanks. Someone who was familiar with overseas martial arts exclaimed. This foreigner didn't say anything from the beginning to the end. We didn't notice anything, so how did he? His hearing is amazing. He must have reached the qi condensation stage. I don't know if he has reached the phenomenal state or not, but he must have reached the transcendent state. By then, the way they looked at Jiang Tian had changed. There was fear in their eyes. Although they were angry at Jiang Tian, they were still suspicious of Jiang Tian's transcendent state cultivation. After all, no one in Huaxia had reached the transcendent state before the age of 30. However, when they saw Jiang Tian's wind blade, they no longer had any doubts. Very well, I will wait for you to come and take revenge. After saying that, Jiang Tian calmly walked out of the door and walked away as if he was taking a stroll in the park. Chapter 187. With a boom, the palm hit Li Camel Fong. He flew out like a rag doll. He fell to the ground and spat out blood, unable to get up. His clothes were burned, his skin was torn, and blood was flowing. What was even more strange was that his skin was black and full of big blisters as if he had been roasted. He looks like he has been burned. What happened? Many martial artists felt chills run down their spines as their faces turned as white as paper. This scene was simply too shocking. Martial artists could not avoid killing each other, and they were all vicious and merciless people. But such a tragic way of killing people made their hearts tremble with fear. What kind of demonic art is this? It is so hot, Li Camel Feng raised his head and asked with blood in his mouth. He was badly burned. Even if he was sent to the hospital right now, he would not be able to recover. I will let you know when you die. The old man sat in the volcano of the Demon Island for 20 years, absorbing the energy and fire poison in the magma day and night for my use. I have already cultivated the extreme heat breath. Lin Zhenyu stood proudly with his hands behind his back. He looked down at Li Camel Feng as if he was looking at an ant. 20 years of absorbing the fire poison in the magma. You have been through this kind of torture. Li Camel Feng was shocked. Then he showed some admiration and relief. He sighed weakly and said, "Sure enough, if you want to pursue the supreme martial arts, you have to go through the torture and suffering that ordinary people can't bear." Today, the old man lost without complaint. Then, his head tilted and he died. Li Camel Feng, a martial arts hero in the Northwest, a grandmaster in the Transcendent State, 5th on the divine list, dead. Everyone was shocked. The whole place was silent. Everyone stared at the peerless and aloof figure on the Shu Mountain with fear in their eyes. Their hearts were in a state of turmoil. Even when Lin Zhenyu defeated Hua Xia, he was only in the top 10 of the divine list. He should be on par with Li Camel Feng. Even if he was stronger than Li Camel Feng, it would take a long and hard battle to kill him. But now, Lin Zhenyu only used a saber and a palm to kill Li Camel Feng in 2 moves. This was clearly an instant kill. The strength that Lin Zhenyu displayed, everyone was already unable to guess. Most likely, he was merely a step away from the deity realm. To absorb the fire poison of the magma, he actually thought of such a crafty and ruthless cultivation method. He has opened up a new path, comparable to cultivating formless power. This is going to be difficult. Zhao Yuankuan and Wei Feilong gnashed their teeth in hatred, but there was fear in their eyes. There was nothing they could do. Sigh, who would have thought that after 20 years of seclusion, he would actually cultivate such a miraculous technique? I'm afraid that even the god of war, Yi Zhantian, would not be able to defeat him easily. Even Hua Qingtian was hesitant. His expression was solemn, and his eyes flickered. He was deeply moved. None of them had the confidence to defeat Lin Zhenyu. Everyone, since the position of Alliance Master will be decided in the single elimination tournament, although this old man is not talented, I would like to learn from the experts of the world. Lin Zhenyu's aura was surging like an abyss or an ocean. His entire body was like an abyss as he stood on top of a huge rock. Who wants to challenge this old man? Come on up. His voice was as loud as a bell. He was facing hundreds of martial arts experts alone, but he was not afraid at all. He was at ease, like a peerless warrior who could hold back 10,000 men. How can we let him be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance? If this news gets out, it will be the biggest disgrace to the martial arts of Hua Xia. Many martial arts experts were panicking. Although Lin Zhenyu was a martial arts expert, he had close ties with the Big Circle, and the Big Circle had done all kinds of evil things. How could such a person be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance? It was the biggest joke in the world. But now, the biggest joke in the world was about to become a reality. Humph, Lin Zhenyu, what have you done to deserve to be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance? Hong Hichu stood up and shouted angrily. Don't talk about Jianghu justice with this kind of villain. Just hack him to death. Zhang Mingli also stood up and shouted loudly. Ha, little kid, you don't know your place. Lin Zhenyu sneered and flicked his fingers. With a few sizzling sounds, several red rays of light shot through the air and hit the people who were shouting. Ah! It hurts, it's so hot. Ah! What is this? I feel like my blood is going to dry up. Help, Hong Hichu, Zhang Mingli, and the others screamed. Some were on the verge of collapsing, some fell to the ground, and some were sent flying. They were rolling on the ground in pain. They were all martial arts experts, and their techniques were not ordinary. Moreover, the Shu Mountain was 1 or 2 kilometers away from the shore, but they could not dodge in time and were hit. Hichu. Mingli. What technique is this? Everyone screamed. Although it was the middle of winter, the faces of the people who had been hit were all red. The blood vessels in their bodies were bulging like earthworms, and they were emitting steam like white mist. Some of them couldn't even withstand the heat and had taken off their clothes. My fire poison Jinqi is formed by condensing the fire poison Jinqi from the depths of the magma. A single strand of the fire poison Jinqi can burn a living person into ashes. Now, it is lurking in your body, and it will burn you every day. 7 days later, your blood vessels will dry up, and you will become a mummy. Lin Jinyu explained calmly. After hearing this, everyone was petrified as if they were struck by lightning. This way of dying was simply too cruel. Only I can remove this fire poison with a secret technique. Even if you are a medical expert or a transcendent master, you can't do anything. Lin Jinyu's expression was calm as he said slowly, only if you submit to me and respect me as your master will I spare your worthless lives. Sure enough, Zhao Yuankuan came to a wounded person and tried to use his true qi to remove the fire poison. But after a long time, there was no effect at all. He could not help but look at Wei Feilong and Huqing Tian in despair and worry and shook his head. This villain is so strong and arrogant. At this time, a martial artist looked at Huqing Tian and said anxiously, I'm afraid only Senior Hua can subdue this villain. Senior Hua, please suppress this villain Lin Jinyu. The martial artists shouted one after another. Especially Zhang Wendao, Hong Junshan and other martial artists whose children were infected with the fire poison, they were even more anxious like ants on a hot pot. They looked at Huqing Tian with pleading eyes, begging him to help. Okay. This old man will compare notes with Brother Lin. Huqing Tian also had no way to retreat at this time, so he could only stand up and say in a clear voice, however, Brother Lin came from afar. Let's make peace. I want to use the method of a civil battle, just one palm. If I win, Brother Lin, please help these juniors remove the fire poison from their bodies, and then keep your promise and leave China. If I lose, this old man will withdraw from Jianghu, live in seclusion, and never interfere in martial arts again. In fact, Huqing Tian did not have the confidence to win at all. This villain cultivated a different kind of genuine qi and was abnormally fierce. If there was an accident in a fierce fight, he would probably die a violent death. And it just so happened that Hong Hichu and the others also needed Lin Jinyu's treatment. Huqing Tian went with the flow and only used the civil battle method to compete with palm strength and genuine qi. It sounded reasonable and natural. Brother Hua, this old man returned to Huaxia just to contribute to the revitalization of Huaxia's martial arts. I don't want to hurt anyone. This is good. Lin Jinyu nodded and agreed happily. He returned to Huaxia because he wanted to be the chairman of the Huaxia Martial Arts Alliance. Killing Li Tuofeng had already intimidated the heroes and successfully established his authority. There was no need for him to start a massacre and make too many enemies. Good, Brother Lin. It is really a great pleasure for this old man to be able to compete with you today. Huqing Tian shouted in a low voice. His figure flashed and disappeared from where he was. Like a torpedo splitting the water surface, he pushed away 2 monstrous white waves. In the blink of an eye, he came to the top of the Shu Mountain and stood face to face with Lin Jinyu. Good. Beautiful. Grandmaster Hua, good job. The audience on the shore roared with applause. The elder brother looked excited as if he had seen a god. Huqing Tian's movements were ghostly and his speed was close to the speed of sound. He was actually able to suppress Li Tuofeng and be on par with Lin Zhenyu. The voices gradually faded, and finally, there was complete silence. Everyone held their breath and didn't dare to make a sound. They stared at the two people on the island. On one side was the old Grandmaster Hu Qingtian, who was known as the Pillar of the Central Plains, and ranked second on the divine list. On the other side was the #1 Grandmaster overseas, Lin Zhenyu, who had cultivated in the crater of the volcano for 20 years and brought fire into Huaxia. These two were like the Mount Tai and the North Star in martial arts. Everyone could only look up to them. And now, the two top experts were going to decide the outcome of the battle with a single palm strike. The air seemed to be stagnant. Everyone had difficulty breathing. Fascination, nervousness, worry, excitement, worship. All kinds of complicated expressions changed on everyone's faces. Grandmaster Lin, please. Hu Qingtian's face was solemn and his eyes were cold. He held his hands together and bowed. Grandmaster Hua. Please. Lin Zhenyu also held his hands together and bowed. His face was calm. Sorry. Hu Qingtian shouted in a low voice and stomped his feet. The huge Shu mountain seemed to tremble. Akalanatha, suppress all demons. The 48,000 pores all over his body simultaneously spurted out streams of golden true energy. Behind him, a huge Buddha statue that was 10 feet tall actually appeared indistinctly. The Buddha statue was surrounded by flames. Its fangs were exposed and its face was full of anger. It looked very ferocious. The huge Buddha statue covered the sky with its 5 fingers. Like Mount Tai, it slammed down on Hu Qingtian's head. This is the Akalanatha. The secret art of Shaolin. This kind of divine power is almost the same as the immortal state's verbal law. It can spit out true essence and interfere with reality. Zhao Yuankuan and the others were shocked. They said in a trembling voice, I didn't expect Grandmaster Hua to have mastered it. What a powerful force. Even Yi Zhantian would have to be cautious when facing the Akalanatha. Wei Feilong was also ecstatic. In other words, Lin Zhenyu might not be able to withstand this move. Knowing that Lin Zhenyu's evil art was not to be underestimated, Hu Qingtian did not dare to be careless. He used his trump card as soon as he attacked. As a martial arts family in Zomadian of Yu province, Hu Qingtian had always been on good terms with Dengfeng Shaolin Temple. Hu Qingtian was the master of Arhat Hall when he was 30 years old. He was once taught the Akalanatha by a reclusive monk in the back mountain of Shaolin Temple. The martial arts he learned were diverse, and he controlled dozens of techniques, but after thinking about it, the art of immovable wisdom was the most powerful. This move might not take Lin Zhenyu's life, but it would definitely cause him to be heavily injured, even crippling his cultivation and ending his path of martial arts. 6 changes of Kuan Peng, red flame golden rock transformation. At this critical moment, a powerful and cold voice suddenly sounded. Lin Zhenyu had also made his move. With a stern look in his eyes, he flipped his hands and slapped at the giant hand of the Buddha statue. At this moment, with a boom, a golden rock surrounded by flames flew out from his body. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.